Hey everyone, welcome back to another installment of PRL Plays podcast. As you know, we will be doing 4 episodes this week. This is the episode for the Soul Division. As you probably already know, just based on the title of the episode that you clicked on. Alex, do you want to give any insight before we jump into the announcements and so on and so forth?
No, I think we got the craziest division right here with our tiebreakers that are so inconclusive until we play this last week. So I think it could be really interesting to see how the teams are preparing for this and get an insight on how they feel it's going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that being said, we have a few announcements as well as a notice for this week's episode of the podcast. The notice for this week's episode of the podcast is because we are doing all these interviews. There is going to be a lot of jump cuts between interviews. We just don't want you guys being caught off guard thinking that we're going to be having like all these people in at one time. That being said, as for announcements, signups for next split will be going live shortly after this episode is uploaded. We've had a lot of people who've expressed interest in signing up for next split, so if you are interested, make sure you sign up sooner rather than later. That also goes for our new league that we're starting next season called the PRL Premier League. We're still working out the name, but stay tuned on that. That is going to be a Diamond 1 Plus league, so if you are a Diamond 1 Plus team looking to compete in a higher stakes league, make sure you guys are staying tuned for those signups as well, because we are definitely excited to have you guys next season coincide with our current PRL system that we run. Also, we will be releasing a calendar for next year, so you can see how each split will shake out in terms of like when it's going to be taking place, so on and so forth. That will include both the Premier League and the regular league, so make sure you guys keep an eye out for that as well. Finally, we have 2 more announcements. Our second to last announcement is there is going to be a lot of tiebreakers. Let's be honest, most likely, especially in this division. So with the way that tiebreakers are going to work out, in the event of a singular head-to-head tiebreaker, it will be played out that night. If there is a 3-way tiebreaker or even a 4-way tiebreaker, the games must be played out before Monday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. This coincides with our second announcement, which is I will not be here to deal with that. Alex will be taking over for me while I am on my honeymoon with my wife. So if you guys have any questions or concerns regarding that entire regard, make sure you guys are asking the man with 2 thumbs pointing at himself that just stopped. With that being said, though, let's go ahead and jump right on into the Soul Division. And for the first interview today, to kick things off for Soul Division, we, of course, have Zephyr Esports Starling. Starling, how are you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty all right. How are you?
Doing well. No one ever asks how Alex is doing.
It's all right.
But anyways, so Starling, you guys are looking to secure that first seed this week. You guys have your rematch against Recon 5, which will determine if you guys either have to play tiebreakers or if you guys just flat out secure your first seed. So my first question for you is going to, of course, be how are you feeling going into that matchup against Recon 5?
We've had a lot of roster changes recently. I guess we haven't really played with the same roster like pretty much any week, but I guess I'd say like as nervous as always. I'm always like a anxiety-ridden mess like game day, so no more nervous than any other time, but very nervous, I'm sure.
Fair enough.
For a top team.
Yeah, the anxiety is what keeps you on your toes, man. Keeps you laser focused.
You get complacent, you start to lose. So.
Yeah, I guess you're not wrong.
All right, so you guys also play a game against Rated R this week. Rated R obviously hasn't been performing up to snuff this season. They're sitting at 2-10. What are your guys' thoughts going into this week as a whole? You know, are you guys going to be disappointed if it comes down to a tiebreaker? Are you guys going to be, thank God, like, whew, we made it? If you guys make it first seed, like, what's the mental state of the whole team going into this? Is it anything but first is a disappointment, or?
I think it kind of depends on who you ask. Some of the players are very like dead set on like they want first seed, like they've been fighting really hard for it, and so I can respect that. For me, it's like just one game at a time. So actually, I'm really focused on the Rated R esports match right now, and move on to everything else as real.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a respectable mentality.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, let's talk about that. You guys taking it one game at a time has obviously gotten you guys to 12-0. Um, has there ever been a time where you guys thought like, oh man, we barely scraped by that game, or have you guys pretty much been like, all right, yeah, we won that game, we deserve to win that game, let's go ahead and move on to the next one?
So I guess the game that I was the most displeased with would probably be the Unipanthers game where they debuted their Singed pick. Um, like that was a game where not only were the players sort of surprised, but I was just like, wait, they're actually picking Singed in comp, and then they were actually really, really quite competent with it.
Mm,
So that game was a big struggle for the players to overcome, like I think mentality a little bit, and
mm,
just from draft perspective, it was a little bit of a shock.
gotcha. Um, what are your guys' so? uh, If you guys do manage to lock that first seed, you guys will obviously have a bye week
Mhm.
for the first week, and then you will have the Thanksgiving break for playoffs, or before you guys play in quarterfinals, rather. So you guys essentially have a 14-day break if you guys manage to lock that first seed. Um, what are your are you guys is that 14-day break kind of daunting for you guys? Or you guys would you guys much rather prefer to be playing during those 14 days? What's your guys' general thoughts on that?
Um, like the match days are like really nice to like see how far our work has come.
Mm,
But if we have a 2 day like a 2 week, excuse me, period of time to just scrim because we scrim like 4 days a week and do VOD reviews like two
oh,
days a week
nice.
sometimes.
Oh, great.
So it's like that's just prep time for us to get our roster in order. Like if we have that, that would be awesome. If we don't, then we roll with it.
Gotcha. Now, obviously, all of playoffs is going to be on the preseason patches. For you guys, it'll actually be the second preseason patch. You guys will be able to hide a lot of your picks out of the first preseason patch that will occur. Um, do you guys have anything planned for preseason, or are you guys looking at preseason as, oh no, that we think the preseason is actually going to be a detriment to us? What are your thoughts on that?
Uh, in general, I think the preseason is going to make the support role, how to say, more oriented towards damage. I think enchanters are going to be pretty crap.
Okay.
So I would say that when it comes to like what we're looking to practice, it kind of depends. Because if they neuter Senna because she's like ridiculous right now, then maybe that's not an idea to consider. But just generally, champions like that are going to be very strong, and
Mhm.
we'll probably be considering them. Maybe some go next strategies coming in.
Gotcha. Everyone's always got a shout out go next.
Every
Uh,
time. So I kind of wanted to go over your draft thoughts this
Sure.
week when you versed against Jet Black. Did you guys kind of feel comfortable with what you got in draft, or what were your thoughts, and how did you guys kind of get around some of the picks?
So the biggest thing going into Jet Black is it was unfortunately Mariscuta's last day like playing with us because he just got a job with Google. Like shout out to him. And
Shout out to Google.
so we were really hoping to get him on the Nami just because that's his main. He loves Nami. He's like a 1 million mastery point like player on Nami.
Mhm.
And they first picked it.
You think that was a takeaway on their side, or
I mean, probably. I mean, both support players in that game were Nami mains. I think that Jet
gotcha?
Black was just drafting for comfort in general because they like first picked Lucian Nami. That's kind of troll. Like Lucian's
Yeah,
a great counter pick ADC, but he's not that great as a first pick in this meta. Um,
but he can be
actually,
flexed.
yeah, he can be flexed, but I'd be pretty shocked if they did that. To be honest, like if they were maybe trying to counter Gangplank and like leave up Gangplank, that'd be an idea. But when it came to draft itself, basically they gave us the option like, do you want to play Vladimir or Gangplank? And we're like, well, I guess we'll just pick eventually. And it was pretty like I think the draft was not so much me doing anything good, but they maybe didn't prepare it the way that they would have liked to.
Gotcha. So obviously, you have a big game coming up this week, and it's against Recon 5. Now, you guys
Mhm.
faced off in the past, and we kind of talked about Recon 5 being more explosive in their games. They do things very quickly and try and take advantages quickly, and then games fast. Where we kind of said you guys were kind of more of a slow, take control of the game, and ended on your terms. How do you guys feel about the statements we've kind of made kind of giving your team an identity?
I've always kind of thought that it was a little bit silly because we very often pick champions that are or early game oriented, especially in the jungle where a lot of our power comes from.
Hmm.
If you look, we've basically gotten Pantheon jungle every other game. So I was like, I don't know if I agree with that, but I can understand where it comes from since we do pick scaling top laners a lot, sometimes scaling mid or ADC. So,
Well, when I say slow, I don't mean in the terms of you guys only pick scaling. I mean more of the terms of you guys will
Controlled, methodical.
do things in a like macro out early game versus just keep diving on top or just keep ganking lane. You guys do things a different style, and I think it's more methodical. And that's what I mean by slow. I didn't really mean to make it out to be you guys only play for late game.
all right.
So
Well,
under that basis, how do you kind of feel as a team? Do you feel like that's a good understanding of your team, or do you feel like we kind of misread what Zephyr Esports is?
I mean, I'd say like we like to when we make early game like plays, like their ganks or those sorts of ideas, it's usually with something else in mind.
Hmm.
So if we come across like a slower team because of that, because we're not making like just like oh we're just gonna gank so that we can get this like goldie tier like immediately, like maybe I guess that would be an idea. I guess that would make us much more methodical. I can see that being an idea.
Okay.
So when we were going through all the divisions and ranking them in terms of difficulty, we had Soul Division as actually the toughest, with life not too much further behind. And the reason that we kind of deemed this division as the toughest was because it seemed like every team could take a game off of each other, excluding Zephyr Esports and Recon 5, who were alone at the top. So it felt like people were really only fighting for that third seed ever. Do you agree with the statement that you guys are the hardest division, or do you think there's another division that you've kind of eyeballed as like if we can avoid playing teams from this division, we would like to?
Well, the FFs make that kind of hard to say because maybe USA was actually like a great team or something. But I would say that with things going the way that they were, like Life Division is pretty strong division too. I guess I would agree in general. Mind and Body kind of look pretty underwhelming. Like TFT looks like a good team. SBK Embers looks like an alright team, but I think that in general the competitiveness is much lower.
Gotcha.
So coming to playoffs, what strong teams out of the top 6, that we talked about? I don't know if you refer to what our top 6 was. If you need to, we can give you that. But out of our top 6, what kind of one of those teams are you looking to face come playoffs?
I'd actually like to answer that question next week after I've screamed most of them, but I guess like I have a couple of different answers to that. I'm really excited to see games against Akuma Blades because I think their playstyle is pretty fun. With they're the teleport team, and I think
we talked about that. They do snap decision on TPs.
Right, like that. Like you guys remember when XPK's team Origin was doing that back in 2016, and like it was like basically the meta. Yeah, those were some golden days. I really liked that. So seeing another team like be successful with that's really nice for me. But I think TFT is fun to looks like a fun team to play against.
It's a fun game mode to play too.
Yeah, no kidding. No, but I think that because of their ability to play through bot lane, like support jungle synergy is not something you see a whole lot. Usually it's mid jungle or something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a really exciting idea. I think Akuma Blades and TFT are like really exciting for us. We're kind of spoiled because we've already gotten to play Recon 5 a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So speaking of that, there is still chances that you guys meet Recon 5 at the end of the tournament. How do you feel about that being kind of a final situation? Is that kind of like disappointing to you, or would it make you really pumped because you know that you've been facing a team that will make it to finals the entire time?
I gotta say, I wouldn't really be disappointed pretty much no matter who we fight from the top 6 if like it came to like us being in finals against them. Like I think that most of the teams that are doing well in this tournament are pretty respectable.
Gotcha. So last season we actually had a third seed make it. We didn't have a single first seed team make it to finals. You had Gonex Gaming, which was known as Polar Ace, versus Serpentis, who sneaked through as third seed, in their division, and Polar Ace was second in theirs. So, are there any second or third seed teams that you guys think can really pull it out? Or are you guys just like, no, we think these are the top 6 teams. These are the teams that are going to make it to finals.
Let me think. Second, third seed teams.
Excluding the ones we have in like the top 6. So
like Recon
excluding
5.
Recon 5 and Go Next Gaming because they are in our top 6.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, okay, a lot of the top 6 teams have like a problem or two that's like exploitable, and everybody below them has like multiple problems that are exploitable. Like, not to call anybody out, I guess. Like, I've always kind of thought of TFT as a team that struggles to close, but they just get really good early games. So like, they don't generally have any issues with it. It just takes them longer than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But like, compare that to Famous, where they kind of coin flip games sometimes, and that's not what you want to look for when you see somebody going through a best of 5s like bracket.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say no, probably not. But I've been wrong about things before, so maybe we'll see Famous come up and clap everybody.
Fair statement, obviously.
So
Now,
one thing we
okay, go ahead, Jake.
I was going to say one thing we definitely need to touch on regarding Soul Division is this essentially 4-way tiebreaker you guys have for this third seed.
I was actually about to ask about that.
Okay. So you guys obviously have played against all these teams, so I'd love some of your insight. You have Team Jet Black, who has to play against, I got to double check, Asian Invasion and UT Esports Blue. You have Asian Invasion, who has to play against Team Jet Black and Team Solo Kill. UT Esports Blue, who has to play against Recon 5 as well as Jet Black. And then Uni Panthers Gold sitting in one game behind everyone, who has to play against Rated R and Team Solo Kill. Uni Panthers Gold has kind of been on a downslide. Everyone else seems to kind of be trending upwards with consistent 1-1 weeks. I want your thoughts. Do you think that we're going to see a multiple-way like 3-way tiebreaker, a 4-way tiebreaker? Who do you think is going to come out on top if that's the case? Or is there one team that you're thinking this week is just going to 2-0 and it's theirs?
Because there's actually 3 possibilities of another 3-way tie and 1 possibility of a 4-way.
So, I'm not really a big guy on like predicting the future, but I can tell you what I'd like to see.
Shoot.
I'd really like to see Asian Invasion's hard work pay off. I think that like I've been working with them behind the scenes. We scrimmed with them a couple times, and like they've been working their butts off to become a much stronger team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd really like to see that rewarded, because I've seen like attitudes from some of the other teams be not as impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to see like hard work rewarded in general. So I'd say our Asian Invasion, I'd really like to see make the 3rd seed for playoffs.
Well, personal feelings aside, just what are your thoughts on the 4 teams we said? Which one do you think was the strongest facing throughout playoffs? I mean, throughout divisional play.
Well, I mean, Unipanthers gave us the hardest time in an actual match. UT like competed with us second time around a little bit, but really weren't like, I didn't feel like they were that impressive, to be honest. And I think Jet Black has a lot to work on. So I guess I'd say Asian Invasion looks like the strongest team as well at this point. If Unipanthers figures out what's going wrong, then they would be my other choice for that. But they're not working with it right now.
Is there anything that your team is personally working on that you might think are mistakes for your team that we might not have caught, but you guys are obviously working on it for playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a whole bunch of stuff, to be honest. That would take forever to answer. Do you want another 6 hour podcast?
Not a problem. And obviously, we don't want you to give away anything that would make you kind of exploit your weaknesses. So,
yeah.
But it is nice to know that you guys are working always to improve.
Definitely. 100%. So, are there any? Well, we touched on the preseason a little bit here and there. Do you guys have any spicy picks you guys are planning on bringing out for preseason, or is it all just standard? We're going to keep playing our game.
I mean, if they start banning us correctly, we might pull out some spicy picks.
All right.
All right, so real quick, what do you consider banning you correctly?
Yeah, that's the hard question.
Go in depth.
Well, no, I mean, I can be honest about this because it's actually really hard to ban against us. There's a lot of things that you have to remember.
Your camp pools are really strong?
Well, so you have a couple of dynamics you have to keep in mind, right? We play Pantheon. We can flex Pantheon. We can flex Pantheon a bunch of different ways. You've only seen us play Pantheon jungle, but we wouldn't first pick it if we couldn't flex it.
Not flex picks are extremely powerful.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep.
But like on top of that, like we also have the whole like our top laner looks like a Vladimir Gangplank 2 trick, which he's not. But if you give him one of those
Oh
champions,
yeah,
then your game is
take it when
immediately
it's
harder.
strong.
And so if you don't ban those three champions, then you're going to deal with the Nightmare Flex Pantheon or a top lane that's very difficult for you to win.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
But you also have to keep in mind there's a bunch of other flex picks that we have picked up recently, like the Swain that people ban a lot, and then there's the general meta ADCs as well. There's so many like bans that you have to keep in mind. It's all
Gotcha.
dependent on what strategy you're taking.
So, impossible to ban out Zephyr. That's what I'm getting.
I like to hear it though.
Yeah, that's good.
So, I mean, I really only have shout outs left, Alex. If you have any questions you wanna.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about what you expect for playoffs. I just want to know 2 teams that make it to finals. What are the teams and who wins?
All right.
It's like, you're bringing the serious questions out, huh?
Yeah, it's a big boy question. I'd say that like what I'd like to see and what I wouldn't be surprised to see. I'd say I'd really like to see Zephyr finals against Akuma because I think Akuma's a great team and that'd be a fun matchup. But
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a TFT Akuma finals either, and that would be really exciting to watch too.
Wow. Kicking yourselves out for the entertainment.
Hey, no, man. What I mean to say is, like, a lot of different things.
No, of course. And there's a lot of things that can happen come playoffs and with preseason, so.
I actually have a question based off that answer is, we've talked about the fact that you guys are very likely going to take first seed if you guys can take down Recon 5 again. What are your guys' expectations as a team for the split as a whole? Where are you guys like saying, okay, if we finish less than anything, if we finish anywhere less than this, it's a disappointment? Is finals the goal? Is semifinals the goal?
Honestly, if my team makes finals, but they play like crap, then I'm going to say that they didn't meet their goal. It's really much more about the in-game play. Yeah. So to answer that question, like the way that you want is kind of difficult. I'd say like if they make playoffs this week by dropping a game to rated R and like Recon 5 because they were playing terrible, then they would have already missed the goal for the entire tournament.
Gotcha.
Wow.
I think that's a very intelligent way to look at it.
Rough expectations on the side of Zephyr.
No, I mean, they just expect to perform.
To play well, of course.
All right, man. I mean, well, that does it for me in terms of questions. Before we let you go, do you want to shout out anybody?
Yeah, I've got a couple, if you don't mind.
Shoot.
I'd like to shout out to all the players who have played a game with us throughout the tournament. There's like actually way too many subs for a team that's doing this well, I'd say. Like the general main roster of Ben Wiederum, and DP and Akata and Vark, who's no longer with us, and Mariscuda, who's no longer with us, and our subs Dueled and Woven, and our new ADC Consumed, and potentially a new support coming in soon. We'll see. I'd like to shout out to Smax and Thin Uncle Phil, who've been really wonderful people to work with recently, and the staff of PRL in general. You guys have been wonderful to work with. And one more thing. I really want to shout out 3 particular teams who I respected the mental of, even if some of them are not doing so well. That'd be Asian Invasion, who are doing well now. New Meta, who are kind of sweating it a little bit. And Team Solo Kill for sticking it out, because I really have to respect them for that.
Totally.
Agreed. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck this week and moving into playoffs.
Very excited to see you guys play.
All right, and for our second interview of the day, we have Tokebi representing Recon 5. How are you doing today, my friend?
It's been a great week. Violet just made playoffs. Scarlet is either going to get guaranteed second or possible first seed if they play well, and Red is doing prep for their next tournament.
Heard. Which league is each one in?
Violet is in ABL right now. As of right now, I think Red is about to be in a different league. No confirmation on that. I'm just waiting on the owner to tell us which league we're going to, and Scarlet is in PRL actually.
Gotcha. Well, obviously, we're going to be focusing mostly on Scarlet then. Scarlet this last week played against Team Solo Kill in addition to
Asian Invasion.
Asian Invasion. That was the one. I couldn't find it for some reason. you guys managed another 2-0 week. You guys have only dropped one game throughout the entire split against Zephyr Esports. And you guys have a rematch this week against Zephyr Esports to either, as you said, force that first seed tiebreaker, or if you guys end up losing, just place second overall in the group. How confident are you guys going into that matchup against Zephyr?
So it all depends on whether or not Zephyr is able to play like they did. Because the last time we played, we did not have our starting superstar jungler. Like, we all know that Turtle is a monster anyways. If we have Turtle, I feel like we are in a very good position. The last time we also didn't have any of our starting tops, Rat, nor Zakir. And now with Zakir being able to play and Rat being able to play, we do have a really, really insane roster. Because I don't know if people know very often about Rat. He is known as a really, really disgusting top laner because he was playing on a team beforehand called Dynasty, and he's this mechanical monster that can just destroy a lot. And obviously, you guys saw him firsthand with Rat Race just taking over games. So I'm pretty confident, but it depends on how the draft goes and just how the team goes in general for like morale and mental that day.
Yeah, we talked a lot about how draft kind of decides against those two powerhouses,
especially heading into playoffs. Yeah, I mean, so let's actually transition there. Alex, you had some questions regarding their drafts and everything this last week. I'll let you take over before we get deeper into the playoff questions.
If you just want to go over your draft against Asian Invasion, what were your thoughts on the draft? How did you conclude with what you had, and how did you find it to be successful?
Let me try and see. So the whole point of that draft for against Asian Invasion was we wanted to draft flexibility and two champions that can be consistently role swap. We got the Zyra Khan, and we know that Asian Invasion likes to take a lot of what we had in plan because we were the innovators. We did bring Ashe Zyra into the meta, but the way they utilize Ashe Zyra with the Galio denial, we don't put that much priority into Galio. Plus, we have around like 7 more counters for Galio mid, and we didn't want to reveal too much, so we just added the Rise and the Aatrox, because the Aatrox and the Rise are interchangeable. And after we saw the Fiora, we just all chuckled as a team. We shifted the Rise top, which is a nightmare matchup for the Fiora, because she'll never be able to kill the Rise, at least until the Fiora hits her 4th or 5th item spike, and then the Rise would just manhandle her, while Rat Race just takes over the game for mid side, since both our players are able to just consistently flex.
Very intelligent, and obviously the Jarvan was there for the game pressure.
It felt kind of bad because they decided to just 5-ban Turtle, and we just sat there like, okay, Jarvan duty for Turtle it is. He doesn't get to have fun this game.
That's funny. So, talking about the game, did you guys feel confident going into this game, or was Asian Invasion kind of a team you've been looking at and saying, you know, we need to actually prep for this?
So we have a secret stream where I monitor the players' communications and stuff. If you guys saw what they did for stream, you'd also would be disappointed, because you think they'd give it their all, but their comms were just all like them all messing around.
Ah, okay.
It was extremely great. So like that sloppy gameplay that you guys saw at the end, where just all of them,
yeah, they're just running it down,
aspiring, just like gatekeep me and give me gray hairs.
Gotcha.
Heard.
Are you worried about that coming into playoffs, that maybe the team's not going to take it as seriously as you want it?
No, that 4 of their components are on a ULO team. They have been together for 3+ years, and they know when to take games seriously. So it depends on Recon team, but Violet and Scarlet have a very similar team culture where, depending on the scrims, they can actually troll and not care too much. But once the official game comes, they'll start taking it really seriously and try really hard.
So when we get to playoffs, we're going to see a new Recon 5.
You'll probably see.
I should say a Recon 5 that's, you know, looking to command.
You'll probably see that, yes, because I think Zephyr Esports was our biggest rival, and during that week we didn't even have Turtle, so the team just kind of fell apart. But with Turtle being there, the team is very, very successful.
Gotcha.
So,
all right, well, let me I'm gonna steal the mic back real quick, Alex. Sorry.
Go for it. Go for it.
So my question for you is this: is if they're able to meme against Asian Invasion rather, Asian Invasion is in that four-way tiebreaker along with potential four-way tiebreaker with Jet Black, Asian Invasion, UT Esports Blue, and Uni Panthers Gold. How do you feel about that four-way tiebreaker? Do you guys feel like there's a specific team you think is going to get out? Is it very much we just don't care? We're not paying attention to them. We're only focused on we're only focused on Zephyr Esports rather, and the other top teams across all the divisions. Or what's your thoughts on that potential four-way tiebreaker?
Turtle thinks Asian Invasion takes it, and everyone on our team is that they like the Asian Invasion players, so they hope Asian Invasion takes it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
How comfortable are you with other teams right now? Have you been keeping up with other divisions?
One of close friends of mine, Project Ripper, is on Florida Famous Gaming. I don't know which division that is, but I've heard of Team Fish Taco. Akuma is really insane, and Go Next from the Sunday block. I heard they're all really insane. So just walking in, we have to prep and just do a lot of research beforehand.
Gotcha. So when we were doing our division strengths, we mentioned that we think Seoul Division sits at the top of the totem pole for the four divisions on the strongest division. Do you agree with that sentiment? Why do you feel that way? Yeah, give me your thoughts on that.
I feel like Seoul Division's upper two. I mean, obviously, you guys know are just tearing it up, but I actually feel like the other divisions are a bit more difficult to deal with because the division with Team Fish Taco is really much harder, and then the one with Go Next and Akuma, Akuma's smurfing on kids, super clean gameplay. I think they're much harder. Like our division. Because Turtle and I thought it was lower three. At least
okay.
Well, just kind of what we thought is that with you guys being so dominant, there's only one spot left. So that's what made it so hard in this division, in our opinion.
Yeah, and all those teams that are in that middle of the pack do seem fairly close together for each other, which has made it impossible for teams like Rated R and Team Solo Kill to find success. That was why we had deemed it the hardest. But obviously, you have a very different take. You think that other divisions look much harder based on what you guys have seen. So, let's start there. What to you guys is the hardest division based on the eyeball test?
I think it's definitely Life Division with Single Saiyans, Go Next, and Akuma Blades. Our second place will probably be my division with Team Fish Tacos and Famous Gaming, because Famous Gaming has a pretty decent team, although they can be tackled really easily. But Team Fish Tacos is pretty insane, and like body, I actually think we're like really weak because SPK Embers is still pretty good too. It for the counterparts. I think the reason why we're above body is because we have this like super intense rivalry and like possibly a tie for next week between like Zephyr and Recon.
Gotcha. Well, if you guys do manage to take down Zephyr Esports, regardless of who finishes first or second, that would secure first overall seed for all of playoffs to SPK Embers. So I know SPK Embers is definitely rooting for you guys. When we were ranking the top 6 teams rather, our top 6 teams were I think aggregated. I think it was Akuma Blades was in first, Recon 5 was in second, Zephyr was in third, Go Next Gaming was in fourth, and then you had Team Fish Taco in fifth with SPK Embers coming in sixth place. Just based on the eyeball test, do you guys agree with that sentiment, or do you guys think Zephyr should be rated higher, or do you think you guys should be rated higher? What's your guys' opinion on that list?
I think rating-wise doesn't mean as much until the teams start brawling against each other. So for now, I'll just agree with it, because for all
speculation right now. Obviously,
they could pull some magic stuff from the bottom of their draft book, and we won't have an answer for it, or we could pull some really weird stuff and they don't have an answer for it.
Gotcha.
Like possible counters for like Nado's mid, or they might even pull Nautilus mid out.
Now we've
Gotcha.
we've talked about Recon 5 as a super explosive team. They're willing to take that 50-50. They're willing to take extra risks to gain advantages. Would you agree with that as we kind of talk about your team, or do you think that's the wrong way to look at Recon 5?
The way I've taught them, cause they're the lesser explosive team, out of compared to Violet.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, that woke me up. What's going on over here? Like,
And you guys should see White and Violet, because Violet are called the specialists because they always make finals. Doesn't matter what league that is, like Masters, GM, Diamond. Doesn't matter what league they're placed in. They always make finals. And the way the Violet plays is like getting in a ring, and like the enemy team is Conor McGregor, and you are Floyd Mayweather. You are beating the living hell out of your counterparts. Scarlet
I have
is
thoughts on that, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna keep those ones to myself, I guess.
We won't get into that.
Scarlet is much more controlled, because Scarlet is the definition of an aggressive Korean team. I spent a lot of time teaching them how to play similar to the Korean aggression style, not the SKT slow style, but more specifically of sandbox.
Oh, I was gonna say
Whereas,
Griffin. Like,
no, when we are not playing like Griffin. And with how our team
Sword.
plays, it's very similar, because Turtle is similar to On Fleek with his champion flexibility, and just now us picking up the other teams, we might even upgrade and have like super huge flexibility to the team, because at this point they're adapting more of a Chinese play style, and they understand that aggression is key in this meta, because making a play is better than not making a single play in this meta at all.
yeah, generally
So-
the aggressor comes out on top. I think it was like
Mhm.
95% of the time, somewhere in that range. Generally, the person who makes the first step is the one that wins.
And since I've experienced and like played way too much Korean solo queue in my day, the first thing that you always want to know is how to execute dives and like punish your opponent. If a play is being made on one side of the map, like they understand that they have to trade a play, or they might end up losing. They can't play too passive.
Yeah.
But they specifically play around like their understanding of what the win con is and like how the draft goes, because sometimes stuff doesn't go as planned, but we always have contingency plans within the draft to enable the team basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now we've seen some similar picks come out of Recon 5. We've seen some strange picks come out of Recon 5. Is there anything you guys have been holding back, and maybe are some spice picks that we haven't got to see yet, and you have plans for playoff with?
We have a couple, like I said, we have 7 answers for Nautilus that in case somebody does pick the Nautilus mid. We also have multiple answers for champions like Zed. We did bust that out against Team Solo Kill a couple weeks ago, because we intentionally gave them their Zed, and then we just picked Volibear mid into that. The other week we actually shifted.
look at plays. He doesn't understand.
I'm like going through it in my head, like, how does that matchup even go?
Volibear runs Aftershock. The Zed tries to all in. The Volibear just flips the Zed and like
Tanks it
triple
all
burst and pokes him out of the lane.
Yeah, that was.
And
I
then
was
the
like, he
other
must be
week,
taking Aftershock. I think that's what it is that's making the counter.
Well,
Actually,
Well,
no, he went Predator. I told him to go Predator that game. I forgot.
actually,
the-
we obviously don't want you to give up anything too exclusive to your team, but we appreciate some of the things you've talked about.
We played against Rated R last week, and although it didn't get streamed, it got streamed by our org. We actually shifted Can't Carry into Kindred Jungle, trying to test out something new. And then we had Rat Race play Leona top, and then we ran Syndra ADC for Turtle. Turtle was finally on the ADC role, and Bardley was just on comfort. We actually did some really whack shit in scrims. I'm not gonna reveal as much, but we're looking for counters for Pantheon too in the meta.
Gotcha.
Well, you guys obviously have a thick plan going into playoffs, and that sounds like it's pretty confident.
So I'm gonna take the mic back real quick, Alex. I apologize, but I gotta ask. You know, we're headed into playoffs, and I've said this multiple times throughout multiple interviews. Is playoffs is going to be played solely on the preseason patch, which is a very daunting task for a lot of teams, because the preseason is generally when a Riot breaks their game. So how is Recon 5 going into this playoffs? are you guys nervous about the fact that Riot tends to break the game? Are you guys excited, especially around the draft? Because now that the third Drake will be revealed in the draft, for everyone to know how the map is going to kind of shake out, there's a lot of speculation that draft is going to control the game even more so than ever. Is that something you guys are really looking forward to? Is that something you guys are nervous about? What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think so. Just like in life, how it's all RNG, we just have to clench our cheeks and pray to God we get the right RNG. I mean, for all we know, like all of a sudden you see Karthus somehow dies off, or Karthus becomes extremely strong, and then you roll a 20 dice. I don't know. You get Kiana in the jungle again. You get a resurgence of Twitch jungle. For all we know, Teemo jungle can be meta, but it all just depends. And as long as they understand the fundamentals of like how waves work, because the only thing that doesn't change is the manipulation of waves, the certain timings of jungle, and like how things can be factored into that as an entirety, they'll be able to come to a conclusion as a team on like what the most optimal meta is. But thank God they're actually rebuffing jungle. The role has been so bad. It's like watching Turtle play jungle in solo queue too is just like watching him play with a crutch because of how jungle has like been really hard nerfed.
So I'm actually going to cut you off right there because that take is extremely interesting to me because I mean even at Worlds they were talking about how jungle is literally the most important role in the game right now. Yeah, it literally holds the single most influence over the entire game. Do you just think that's from a competitive standpoint? Do you think that's just, or do you think that's only in competitive? Like, do you think that in solo queue jungle is literally just awful? Or I mean, I'm genuinely curious on your take on that because I believe that jungle is the most influential role in the game right now.
Okay, let's agree. Yes, it is the most influential, but it just sucks to play because if you get 3 losing lanes, you get perma invaded, you don't get to play the game.
Like, sure, I'll agree with that.
In a team perspective, it's a lot different.
Yeah, on the competitive side, like every role right now just sucks aside from mid. Top lane has no impact because you're at the mercy of either you win by TPing, or you don't win at all, because the ADC takes over, and then ADC is at the mercy of support for the first 15 minutes of the game, and then like later then they'll be relevant, but that's like weird. And if jungle gets 3 losing lanes, so it all depends on the draft. If in competitive, the reason why jungle is very strong and how hard it impacts is because no one is stupid enough to draft 3 losing lanes. Yeah. Like we saw SKT during MSI when they decided to pick Azir Ezreal, and look at what happened to like them with G2. You have to, part of having knowledge on draft and like how lane interactions go, basically enable the jungle, because depending on what you want in the draft, the jungle actually becomes a really broken role. But if you draft 3 losing lanes, you are asking to like, you can literally pick Zac, and Zac would be more relevant than what do you call it, Jarvan, because last time Red scrimmed, they actually we had our jungler first time Zac, and we just had 3 winning lanes, and it was just the Zac show. The Zac took over the Kha'Zix matchup. We know how from backhand experience, Kha'Zix is usually more favored to do more than Zac within the early games.
Gotcha. It makes total sense. I could see your perspective on it.
I mean, yeah, I get the thought process. It's just, it was a very surprising take to me to hear that you think jungle is just head and shoulders below everything else.
Jungle is definitely broken. It is still undisputed the strongest role, but it is the worst role to play as because you just have a terrible experience.
Kind of looking at it in 2 different views. Right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that answers that question for me.
So with being 2nd seed, is there a certain team that you are looking to play that's in the 3rd seed role or going to be in the 3rd seed role?
We have no idea. Well, I think it's just life. Depending on who we draw, we're just gonna have to just go through it. Pray to God we actually win the RNG war. We'll see.
Isn't it their pick? Or?
No, it's Recon 5 gets to choose. So
you get to actually choose your own.
Yeah, that's why we were asking. Like, if you guys get 2nd seed, you guys get to choose who your opponent is from the 3rd seed teams.
Different.
Yeah, if you guys are 1st seed, you guys have a 2-week break, and then you get to pick who of the remaining teams you get to play against.
In the case we do get the 2nd seed, then we'll just have to see who we play against. Mm-hmm. I'm not really looking at any choices until like later because the team has more stuff that they need to improve on internally, and just how there's a lot of stuff that I have to worry about right now in like Violet's ABL playoffs. So we'll have to see depending, because for all we know, like next week we could pull out some really weird stuff and nobody's gonna know how to counter it because of the new meta. And I have a couple of things in mind.
So,
Gotcha.
coming into best of fives, how do you feel? Because I know you said that you guys have worked a lot with flexing. So, do you feel confident coming into the best of five?
We have a 6-man roster with Zakir, Rat Race, and Yo Yu. So those three are going to be the core to our flexibility with draft, and we haven't shown most of our cards because depending on team dynamic and stuff, we'll have to see what they want to do from then on, and just like how they want to utilize the draft. And obviously flexibility is key, but we learned throughout Worlds that like mage ADCs are not as strong, but we might with the changes of the meta, there might be some new stuff that we can test out in regards to that. And obviously, I I think I made everyone in Scarlet know how flexible our role is, because Turtle can actually even go mid and ADC, while Can't Carry can still jungle and Barley can still have like, we don't know who's going where. Let's say that.
You just put the pieces in the spot and see how it works. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, what's it called? I only have like two more questions. Maybe actually, I only have like one more question. Actually, who? Obviously, you said you guys are very focused on yourselves internally with all your with all your teams throughout your organization. But you mentioned briefly a couple team names that you were interested in. Is there any team in specific like that you guys 100% want to play against? And on the flip side of that, is there any team that you guys just 100% want to avoid?
Uh, we come into the notion that ideally our team, if we are truly good players, we should not be scared of anyone. So we do not want to avoid any team. We just want to take them all head on. But the team that we do want to play against is, I don't know how Florida Famous Gaming standings are, but because they have a really close friend of mine's, Project Ripper, who's this insane Pike savant, because he just claps kids on Pike. Him and I play Pike Yumi on my Smurf. And this is like D2 Elo, and if he's able to consistently do that, I'm just excited to play against him, more specifically so I can get to ban the Pike and just watch him slowly cry.
I heard.
Because I was originally his coach too in the long run, and since he's still technically part of Recon, but he's just taking this team because right now there's no openings for him. I'm gonna be excited to face them, but other than that, I think every other team is really good. They have their strengths and weaknesses, but if we play our game and we play well, we can obviously, every team comes in with the idea to just like win the game. As long as they don't pull a Violet and make me. A Violet is basically first game they grief and then they win. I already have gray hair. Second game they grief and then they win. I'm mauling right now. So as long as Scarlet doesn't pull a Violet, it's very uncharacteristic of them. We'll be fine.
Gotcha. All right, Alex. I know you have your general last question before I give him his chance to shout outs.
All right. So, finals comes down to two teams. Who are the two teams, and who wins?
SKT and G2, FPX win. Okay. No, so serious. I hope Recon makes it into the final. Recon faces either Go Next or Akuma, because I think those teams are really insane, and Recon
I think
wins
I've talked
because,
about that end game.
In Coach we trust, in Rat we pray.
Gotcha.
Rat is insane.
Is there any shout outs you'd like to give out?
Well, specifically, I just like to shout out for every single player on Scarlet. Turtle for his insane jungling mechanics and just like his comprehension as a good team player. Can't Carry for, even though not getting the MVP, but being able to play it through completely. There's this slight meme where Can't Carry will never get MVP. Hopefully he will during later on games. There's Rat, who is really just insane mechanically. Eric or Yo-Yo, he doesn't talk much, but he's just really insane mechanically too. Zakir for just waiting it out and being able to play for the later stages, and Bardley for just being the last guy that just holds the entire team together. You guys should see their comms. Whenever they tilt, Barley just says one single phrase, and then the team just doesn't tilt anymore.
I want to hear what
And
that phrase is, actually.
thanks to Ryan too. Oh, the phrase is we should stop messing around before Vin whoops our ass.
I thought it was gonna be something funny, like don't be upsetty, have some spaghetti or some shit. I don't know why I thought that was what it was gonna be.
I think it's too much of a dad.
Barley's too cool for that. I'm like the definition of like a tiger parent when it comes to coaching.
Gotcha.
We strive for perfection. We want to always have perfection as a team.
That's some intense words and some intense expectations.
I don't think I'd find success on a Recon 5 team. I literally
He like ints to get practice.
something like that. But no, in all seriousness, it was a pleasure having you on. We were glad to get some insight onto Recon 5, even if some of it was we literally just troll around half the time.
It is nice that you guys have shown such a powerful standing in the division, and we're excited to see you guys in playoffs. We're excited to see you guys play Zephyr this week, and we wish you the best of luck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks guys.
No, thank you. Have a good one, man. Up next on the interview docket, we are with Jet Black's Emma. Emma, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It is freezing cold where I live, though, so kind of bundled up in like 4 blankets.
Heard. So you're another one of those people being affected by that Arctic chill surging through the United States right now.
Everybody's cold in the Soul Division.
All right. Well, Alex, I know you had some questions about last week's games. I'll go ahead and pass it off to you to start it off.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over your draft thoughts going into the game against Uni Panthers Gold and what you kind of were looking for with what you drafted and how you found success with it.
Okay, so going into the draft, we knew immediately that, so one of their better... we knew immediately that we wanted to play some kind of team-oriented comp, which is why we ended up with the Oriana J4. We've been working on that in some scrims because we've been wanting to really... Yes, I was actually so, just happy at the way that Mitch and Cameron and even Excel synergized. At the end, did you see where Excel flashed in and they got the Oriana with the Vlad? That was so nuts. We were screaming. We were like, oh my gosh. That's awesome. When he got rooted, he was like, okay, I'm going in. And then they went in, and it was so cool. We were all so hype about that game. Awesome. And Cameron and Mitch were just constantly going back and forth. And I think that's actually the best game that we've had communication-wise this entire split. We have some issues with our ADCs, been going through a lot of those, just trying to find one that fits what we really need for the team, which really isn't a carry, just really a communicative team fighting ADC. That's really what we want, especially with my champ pool and just how we play the game as a team. So draft wise, we wanted to go for something like a Kai'Sa or a Xayah. We've had more success on Xayah, of course, and I really thought when they locked in Caitlyn Morgana that I'd whip out one of my pocket picks. I have a couple others I've been practicing. Karma, which I've actually played her for a while, but she hasn't really been one of the prominent picks that we've thought about until they locked in Caitlyn Morgana, and my top laner goes, Emma, just lock in Karma. She just shits on Morgana. And then that game, I was like, Cameron, you can come bot lane, level 1, level 2, and then I'll just flash in, which is what happened. We got first blood, and that was hype.
Great play.
Set the whole pace for the game.
So in your draft, were there bans that stopped you from something that you were looking for and then you had to adapt, or were this kind of the game plan for your team and you got it exactly what you wanted?
I think they banned something that we wanted to play top, like a Kled or something like that, but I don't exactly remember. We really just got what we wanted to play that game.
It definitely looked like it. So great job with the success there, and I guess some of my thoughts are I know you guys had kind of a rough time getting to this point. We've seen the ups and downs of Jet Black. Yeah. What are you guys doing to improve right now?
We are screaming all of the time. I am annoying my teammates by going, okay, guys, we need to scrim 3 times a week. I know it's hard how we've had a different ADC mid. We finally, Mitch, our new mid, We've actually played with him before in our past league, but he had to go due to in real life stuff. So we had previous synergy with him. Like Cameron and Mitch have played together on another team before, but he had to go do his own thing. Then he came back and he's gotten better since then. So I really wanted to get someone that Cameron has synergy with mid, which has been our trouble this entire time. Because Cameron has a very aggressive jungler style. He will run into the enemy team's jungle and shove his fist up their butt. Like, it's kind of a little bit of a fault, but at the same time, I mean, he's our shot caller. Like, he keeps us not tilted. Like, he is our backbone of our team. So if he goes, okay, we need a 5-man run it down into Baron Pit, we're gonna do it. And that's what we've been working on. It's just communication, doing what we need to do as a team, just playing together, really. And I really like Whiplash because he actually communicates with me and he doesn't get super tilted or scream at me like other ADCs have.
Fair enough.
He's gotta be someone tough to keep up with the energy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So real quick, I want to... Oh, go ahead, Alex.
How dare you?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So, talking that you've had some more success lately, do you guys feel confident coming into this week knowing that it's very important that you guys 2-0?
I think that it is so exciting. Like, we've been talking about these games for a while now because I kind of predicted that it would get to this point, but that's what I've been looking through, all the stats and everything. I think we will win against the two teams that we're going against as long as we ourselves don't trip ourselves up. I think we're better individuals and better as a team, but the way that we execute it might be where we fault. So I think we will come out on top, but I mean, you've been hearing all the shit talking. Everyone's got their opinion.
I try and stay away from the banter channel, okay?
Yeah.
Alex actually touched on the same thing I was going to touch on, which is, you guys definitely have an interesting week this week ahead of you. You guys play against Asian Invasion, which many have hailed as the team that's going to end up getting out of this group, as well as UT Esports Blue, who I'm sure is right where you guys are at in terms of confidence level, thinking that this is doable. But UT Esports Blue obviously plays against Recon 5, which hinders their hopes a little bit, and Asian Invasion plays against Team Solo Kill, who many are writing off as already a free win for Asian Invasion. The most realistic possibility that everyone has kind of looked at in terms of who's going to get out of playoffs is the tiebreaker that everyone's kind of expecting between all four teams in the middle of that clump, including Uni Panthers Gold. So you guys really have a chance this week to silence everyone and say, no, this is our time to shine. We're going to go 2-0. And you said you guys are fairly confident moving into it.
Yes.
But would you guys prefer to show it on the Rift before it even gets to tiebreakers? Or are you guys saying, we don't even care if this makes it to tiebreakers. We think we're the better team at the end of the day, and we'll show it even in tiebreakers if it comes to it?
I just think gameplay is what really shows. Put your money where your mouth is. I mean, you can talk all this shit, but if you lose the game, you lose the game. And I say that now, even if we do lose the game, I know that us as the team are trying to grow and we've had our trip ups. But if we end up losing, then, we're just going to try harder, go into different leagues, get better as a team, and then come back for next split and kick ass. But I really do think the people that we're going against we can beat. We scrimmed against some of them and absolutely wiped the floor. Not going to say any names, but
no,
yeah, I think we can win.
Obviously, you don't have to say if you don't want, but have you been scrimming against some of the higher tier teams?
In other divisions, yes. They have contacted me and we have scrimmed them, and we've been doing pretty well in our scrims. The only scrims that we have lost are people outside of this league, and we're going against a collegiate team right now that's out of New York. I think it's St. John's University. I can't remember. Anyway, we scrim against them pretty often. They're a really good team. They've been playing together for over 2 years. So that's been some really good practice for us, and for us to practice some other picks that we normally don't pick, especially me practicing things that I'm not comfortable with, and play styles as well.
So with all the scrimming and practice, can you say that we're gonna see some spicy picks coming up in your draft soon? Or
I think so. Depending on
Yeah.
how I have a scrim right after this, so depending on how this scrim goes, I think there will be 2 spicy picks that
Ooh.
everyone will probably flame people
N-
for, but
now-
I think
are you gonna save those for playoffs, or are we whipping it out this week?
we might whip it out this week. We've been talking about it for a while.
All right, that sounds
So-
really nice.
It's actually a secret pocket pick. Like
All
you
right.
haven't seen any of this.
I don't want to see it until game day, so.
Yeah.
So my question for you is a lot of teams that we've spoken to, it's been fairly 50-50 about whether or not they're confident moving into preseason. How is Jet Black feeling about preseason? Because obviously if you guys do make it into playoffs, you're playing strictly on preseason. Is that daunting to you guys, or do you guys are just like, we're ready for it, bring it?
League is such a shitstorm this past year. Like honestly, if
Jacob,
it
grab the
wasn't
sensors.
sorry.
No, you're
Okay. If it wasn't as intimidating as it was with all the new Drakes and stuff, I mean, it wouldn't be League of Legends. I've only played where it's been this whirlwind of just what the hell is
This has to be the biggest
going on?
mix-up that we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
This honestly seems like it'll be more fun when you're drafting because you're like, okay, like if I get Air Drake, Hecarim's going to be really good. But if I get Kiana on Mountain Drake, that's going to be even better. Like those kind of picks, like it
Definitely
could
going to
be
make draft
game-breaking.
even more important than we've already
Exactly.
talked about.
Yeah, and the interesting thing I think is the fact that they are going to be showing you while you're drafting what the third Drake is going to be. So everyone's going to be kind of already catering their draft towards that third Drake.
And even fighting over teams.
Yeah, fighting over specific picks, comps, everything. So I think that, like you said, you guys are preparing for it, but how daunting is it a task moving into such a volatile part of the year for playoffs?
Honestly, just keep going. Just take it, and just keep going. Like that's been our attitude this entire season. Like just take it how it is. We're a very versatile team. We're like, okay, like I've had so many difficulties this season, this team in particular, this version of my team, because my normal team, I have played with this ADC for months, and then going into this league, I go over the elo cap, so I had to completely change my play style and how I just play as a support. So it's Cameron with communicating with our ADC, and then our mid had to go too. So I mean, honestly, preseason doesn't seem that daunting to us because we've had to deal with so many individual problems on our own.
Gotcha.
Now-
And I mean, those individual problems have definitely shown throughout the season. You guys,
Yeah.
up until 2 weeks ago, you guys had a negative win rate. And then it seemed like these last 2 weeks, it's really started to come together. You guys are now 3-1 in these last 2 weeks. So you guys are really coming online at the best time possible to come online. I'm sure you guys are really hoping that momentum you guys have built up will help carry you guys through to the playoffs at this point.
Yes.
Now, if you do make it to playoffs, you be coming in at third seed.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain team that you want to pick you guys to face that you're excited about fighting?
How does that exactly work? Like, who exactly
So,
would be picking?
The second seed teams from each
Mhm.
division will pick a third seed team to fight.
From a
It
different
cannot
division
be
than their
from
own.
your own division.
It won't be from our own division.
So your second seed will not be able to pick you.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Not ready for that one yet. Those guys are
Go
good.
away,
We got
Recon.
stacked. Yeah, go away. See, we could have beat them the game that we went against them, and I was so upset about it because we just had no communication that game. We beat ourselves up that game. That game was the game to win. That game right there, that tilted me so hard. It wasn't a tilt. It was more like it was a punch in the gut.
It was
It was
gotcha. We'll have
we
that
could have won
quoted.
that game. Yeah, that was a punch in the gut.
But so
I
what second seed team from the other divisions, Life, Mind, and Body? Which one are you like? Please pick me.
If
We
you
want
need
to
to,
face
we
you.
can give you a list.
Can you give me a list?
So there's most
That would
likely
be
second
Jacob's
seeds.
job.
Yeah, most likely second seeds are going to be Go Next Gaming from Life Division. It's either
Okay.
going to be Famous or Dawn Revenant from Mind Division, and then from Body Division it is Alarion Gaming Black.
See, I know some people from Alarion Gaming Black. I don't know. I haven't really seen that team play, so I don't know about them. But from Famous Gaming, Dawn Revenant.
Well, let me ask it like this. So I've noticed throughout the time of this split that there was a lot of beef between Jet Black and Go Next Gaming. Is that something that you are you looking to play Go Next Gaming because you want to shut them up and be like, no, we're the better team?
Okay.
Or is it
Let
you guys
me
want to play against
explain.
someone else and meet
Jacob,
them?
why are you
later on?
instigating?
Go Next Gaming, we do not have a beef with. There was a specific player. I like Tron, okay? He's chill. But the one particular player who's not with us anymore was the one that was causing issues. So I do not have anything against the team.
Okay.
Just the
It's
just
the
the one
Go Next-
Yeah,
specific.
you were the
You changed
first.
the show
Hold on.
name.
I gotta just go on record on saying this. She's the first person that's been like, "Yeah, Tron's super chill, nice guy."
He's chill.
Everyone else is like, "Dude, Tron can shove it." Like,
I'll tell you what, Go Next has been
He's fine.
Go Next has been the topic for every interview that we've had. You're probably the
Oh,
first
that's-
person that's not like, oh yeah, I want to take them and shove them into a curve.
No, the only people I have problems with are people who lie, people who are fake, and people who want to talk shit for no reason. Like, you can't talk shit unless you got something to back it up. Like,
fair enough. I respect that.
And-
I agree.
like Tron, he was chill. He even came and apologized to me after what so and so said to me, and we all know what happened to so and so. So,
Gotcha. All right,
and he's chill, and he
staying out of
cleared up
that one.
stuff. So yeah,
We'll leave,
I mean,
we'll leave the rest of that for the banter channel.
yeah.
yeah.
So my question for you is we talked about second seed teams you want to face. You're very much like we don't care. We just want to play. We want to
Yeah.
progress through the playoffs. Are there any teams throughout playoffs, all the first seeds and all the second seeds that you guys are very much like just stay away, like back demon? Like, are there any teams like that for you?
For right now, Zephyr Esports, y'all can go away. I don't like that.
Dude, Zephyr's on everyone's list.
No thanks. I mean, I think eventually we will be able to beat them, but for right now, I'm pulling up my cross. Go away. Just
Gotcha.
be gone.
Heard.
I think for other divisions, probably.
So there's Akuma Blades Go Next, are the first and second seeds from Life Division. You've got Alarion Gaming and SPK Embers coming out of Body rather, and then for Mind Division you have Team Fish Taco, Tempest, and either Famous or Dawn Revenant.
No, if I want to shove something up somebody, it'd probably be Team Fish Taco. They talk a lot of shit. Now that would be a team I like to go against. That'd be fun.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know.
First person to shout out Team Fish Taco
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
shit talkers. Like,
No, you shit talkers. At least one guy in particular. I don't know, two actually.
So we talked about divisional strength, and I don't know if you saw that episode of Plays Podcast, but we talked about this division being the hardest
Yep.
division. Now you agree with that, but what are your reasonings behind that? You know, how do you feel
It's
like you stand?
stacked. It's stacked. Just look at the rosters. There's a higher
We're getting it all right here.
Oh my god, I can't right now. I can't think of how to say it. There's a bunch
have-
of higher elo players in this division per team. I think the teams have better synergy than the other divisions. I mean, just look, we have like 4 teams tied for third seed. We have one team in particular that's undefeated, and then one that only lost like 1 or 2 games. Like
One game to
that's
the
so-
undefeated team.
Yeah, one game to the undefeated. Exactly. Like, I think this roster is not roster. This division is pretty stacked. Like the other ones, one of them even has less teams than the other divisions too. I was like, man. And everyone talks about Soul Division too. So I mean,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Well, it was
It's
between
just
Soul and Life. What are your thoughts on Life Division?
Life Division. I only hear about 2 teams from Life Division, so I think there's probably only 2 good teams from Life Division. No offense
Ooh.
to anyone in Life Division.
You hear that
Just
sicko?
saying.
You hear that
Dropping
sicko
the
Sands?
mic.
You ain't shit.
Um,
And
Yes,
we've
okay.
I've scrimmed like 3 teams from the Life Division, and we beat them. So, I mean, I
send it to
don't
the Life
really.
Division.
So I'm not really intimidated by Life Division in particular. The other divisions, I haven't really fought anyone. Maybe one. We fought one team in the Body Division, and we scrimmed one from the Mine Division, and those 2 teams lost. So, I mean, I don't really not really intimidated by anyone else, really, other than the people in my own division.
Awesome.
Gotcha. That's good to hear. I like the confidence. All right, so, yeah, I mean, so I have a question for you in terms of something that doesn't really affect your guys' standings so much as it just affects like the league standings as a whole. Recon 5 and Zephyr Esports have to go at it for the final game of their splits. And if Recon 5 wins it, it'll force a tiebreaker between Zephyr Esports. Do you think it's going to come down to that, a tiebreaker between Recon 5 and Zephyr, or do you think it's going to be Zephyr 2-0ing them? Shut up, Alex.
I think it really depends. There are 2 different play styles of teams. Like, Zephyr's very calm and collected, and Recon 5 is kind of an exploding kind of team. So I really think it'll come down to what?
We say it the best. That's exactly how we say it.
Yeah, every single time.
Everyone flamed us for it.
No, y'all got it right on point. I really think it's how they execute. I really think it's down to their draft, who wins in draft.
Yes.
I think typically Zephyr drafts better just because of their coach. But I think Recon 5 with their playstyle could potentially beat Zephyr. I think it's a toss-up. Who is, just feeling better that day, who's not as cold, I think it's just down to how the individual players feel that day.
Gotcha.
That's right. Turn the heat up.
All right. Excuse me. That that does it for me, Alex. In terms of question, do you have anything you want to add in there?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you. So when we get to finals, there'll be 2 teams. What are the 2 teams, and who wins?
What do you mean, like finals, like after everything?
Like finals, like
last game of the entire year.
What are your 2 teams that make it to finals, and who wins?
Well, of course I'm gonna say my team because that's what I want. So Jet Black. And who's else?
Versing Jet Black?
Who's versing Jet Black? Like factually or Mimi, so it's a free win.
You can say whatever you'd like.
Yeah, whatever.
You can say whatever you want. Whatever you think.
Shoot. Okay, let me look.
I
gotta look.
Who's lost a lot?
I mean, I'm not.
So a lot of the teams that people are thinking are going to get into the finals is our top 4 list, which was so our top 6 was in no particular order. It was Team Fish Taco, SPK Embers as 5 and 6. Then you had it was Zephyr Esports, Recon 5, Akuma Blades, and Go Next Gaming. Those were our top 6 teams.
I think we've given Zephyr Esports too much credit. I mean, they're a good team, but I really think that they figured out and been in this division so long that they figured out, oh, this is what we can draft against these certain teams. But there's so many different types of playstyle / just comps in other divisions, I think, and styles of play. I think that they'll start to drop some games when they come out of Soul Division. I think, and I say the same for Recon 5 as well. I actually think Recon 5 will do better than Zephyr Esports because teams usually don't play well against exploding teams. They usually play better against predictable teams, and I don't mean this to sound like an insult, but Zephyr is pretty predictable. Where my team has fallen apart is just we're not consistent. So even though we are like, okay, we know they're going to do this and we know this is what they're going to do, like we've still fallen short of executing it. So I think if we were to better execute, then I think that would be the downfall of Zephyr Esports. But that's just my opinion. So I think
so you want to see Zephyr Esports in finals?
I think it would be cool to have a finals later on when I've had a secure roster and we've played better together.
And they kind of got shaken up by the better teams or like getting beat up.
Yeah.
Beat up Zephyr. That's what I want.
Not necessarily beat them up or beat them down. Just really them experience a loss and just be like, we aren't undefeated, like undefeatable, like not even better teams, just different styles of play. I don't think they're 100% invulnerable like everyone puts them out to be.
Gotcha. Well, I mean,
I don't know.
no, I understand. No, I mean, that's it for questions. Before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anybody or anybody, any people whatsoever?
Okay, shout out to the people talking shit. About to shut your mouths up this week. Second of all, shout out to my boy Mitch Cam and Excel and Whiplash. We kicked ass this week. And shout out to my girl Fruit Salad. I love you so much. Last shout out. To my girl Little Cutie Bert. I love you too. Okay, there we go.
All right,
Well,
heard. Well, thank
I
you
think-
so much for
I
coming
think
on
your
the
energy has
podcast.
been just what the episode needed to kind of wake
Uplift
up.
it.
And it's been awesome hearing your thoughts, and you gave us a lot to think about. So I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. We really do appreciate it, and I'll say the same thing I said to everyone else. Good luck this week, and if you guys make it into playoffs, we hope to see you guys do well in playoffs. And if you guys don't make it, we hope to see you guys back next split to run it back and take another shot at it.
Thank you guys.
No, thank you. Have a great one.
You too.
Up next on the interview docket, we have Forbidden representing Asian Invasion. Forbidden, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing
Good.
well.
Man, someone who asked me how I'm doing.
Well, Forbidden, you guys are currently in a potential four-way scenario for that third seed spot, so we'll get to talking about that here in a little bit. But I know, Alex, you had some questions that you wanted to ask Forbidden.
Yeah, you guys had a pretty decent week, I would say, going in. Let's just talk about your Recon 5 draft. How did you feel about that draft? Were there things that you kind of didn't get that you wanted, or do you feel like you got a pretty strong draft?
I think our draft overall was fine for the most part. We got a counter matchup in that we got Fiora into the Aatrox, and I mean Galio does fine into Rise, and bot lane we're just pretty much poking them out. But it kind of didn't go as planned when they kind of lane swapped on us, and so that kind of forced our players to swap back and forth, and just lost out on a lot of farm, and it was kind of doomed.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I could see that being a problem. What about versing UT Esports Blue? How did you feel about that draft?
That game, I felt like our draft was pretty strong. Coming in, we knew that their AD carry player prioritized Syndra a lot, and so we just banned that out. And I don't think the Varus was working too well for them. It kind of shut it down pretty well in lane and even in the mid game. But yeah, I think the draft overall were pretty good.
Now I know that game was pretty close in all the whole time was pretty close, and then you guys kind of won it with one last team fight. So we're not seeing a very dominant fashion versing again a middle of the pack team that is a possible tiebreaker. Does that worry you going into next week with all the possibilities of tiebreakers?
It definitely wasn't the cleanest game. I think the main issue was that they had a lot of CC in the Varus ultimate and Thresh Hook, so when we were trying to 1-3-1 in the mid game, like someone would get caught out. For instance, like I died 2 times, just thinking that I was safe to dash out of the CC, but they kind of CC chained me and I died. But I think despite that fact, pretty confident that we're still better than all the teams that we're tied for, so should be okay going into this week.
Awesome. Now, if you do get to playoffs, it's obviously going to put you in third seed, which means you will be playing a second seed team from another division. Is there any teams that you see that you're like, I kind of want them to pick us, I want to play them?
I would say maybe Go Next Gaming. I know a lot of teams like
it's
to
a trend
pick
here.
on them, yeah, but I think to me at least they haven't looked that strong, and so I think they're definitely a second seed team that we could potentially take on. And yeah, I think it would be
So does
fun.
that make you worried about other second seed teams and thinking they're maybe too strong, or is it just that their play style kind of matches what you guys counter?
Um, well, I think I'm not too sure about Friday's division. I feel like
Mhm.
besides SPK, everyone else is kind of just average. And then on Thursday's division, um, who is looking like the second seed for that
It's
division?
either going to be
Dawn
Don Revenant
Revenant
or
or
Famous.
Famous?
Yeah, I heard a lot of things about Dawn Revenant. So I think they would be definitely a little more challenging than Go Next, as far as I can tell. But and then again, we don't even know if Go Next locks in second, right?
Yeah, of
Of
course. It's
Sunday.
still up to grab, but it's nice to
So
see what
no,
you
no,
got.
no. Real quick, no
Mhm.
matter what, Go Next is either first or second seed.
Oh, okay.
So
Right.
it's
Well,
just a
yeah.
matter of how Akuma Blades performs this weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, I think judging on performance, Akuma will probably lock in first. So,
Yeah, Akuma doesn't need to
yeah,
play Glacials this week. They should be okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
So what are you guys kind of improving on or working on right now to get yourselves ready for potential playoffs or potentially for this week having the chance of so many games?
hmm well, mainly our priority recently has been around just fundamentals in laning. And so our coach, then Uncle Phil, has been kind of working with each of us and trying to improve our laning skills so that, you know, you can win the game through mid-game macro and team fights, but other games can also be won off of pure, stomping in lane. So
And we have seen that. So
yeah, so we're just focusing on getting our laning skills up to par.
So my
now,
question for you is this: is you guys are, we touched on it briefly. You guys do have that potential of a four-way tiebreaker. A lot of people are pinning you guys as the favorites to get out of this four-way tiebreaker, but obviously each of the other teams, I'm sure, has the same level of confidence you guys do in terms that they're going to get out. You guys play against Jet Black, who's in direct contention to you, and then you guys play against Team Solo Kill, and a lot of people are writing you guys off as a
Mhm.
win against the Team Solo Kill matchup. So I'm sure a lot of your guys' investment this week in terms of prep is going into that Jet Black match. Um, Meanwhile, Jet Black plays against you and UT Esports Blue, and then Blue plays against Recon 5 and Jet Black. So what's your guys' level of confidence coming into this week, and why are you guys so confident?
Um, I'm pretty much taking it like we're guaranteed to make it out. Um, like the team solo kill game should be a free victory, and then the jetpack one, I feel like out of all the teams that are in playoffs contention, they are looking like the weakest one. But then again, I'm not too sure after Uni Panthers Gold past week, but I'm fairly confident that we can take down Jet Black. So
Okay.
yeah.
Now, in the event that something does occur, be it in the team solo kill game or the Jet Black game for you guys, Uni Panthers Gold obviously sitting right on the outside of this tiebreaker scenario. What are your thoughts on that one? Are you guys um, do you guys think Uni Panthers Gold will bounce back this week and try to force that four-way tiebreaker, or do you think Jet Black is pretty much, or do you think rather Uni Panthers Gold is just dead in the water?
Um, well, I think that they haven't been looking as strong as they were in the beginning of the split, and I'm not all too sure as to why. Um, but I think with this downward trajectory that they've kind of taken, it's going to be pretty hard for them to come back from it. So I kind of don't see them coming back into potentially clenching that third spot.
Gotcha. So this one doesn't really affect your guys' standings all too much, but I'm curious about your take on this. Recon 5 and Zephyr play again for the first seed essentially. Recon 5 trying to force that tiebreaker, and Zephyr Esports just trying to lock in that first seed. What is your take on that? As someone who's played both teams, where do you think that one's going to end up falling?
So, I've heard that Zephyr had to replace both of their bot laners, their AD and support, and I'm not too sure how well they will kind of fit in, and if they as a whole team will be as strong and dominant as the old Zephyr. But either way, I think it should be a pretty close match. But I will have to kind of give the edge to Recon. I think they've been looking pretty good in the past few weeks, at least with their main roster. And so, yeah, I'm gonna give it to Recon on that one.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you give them the edge again in the tiebreaker, or do you think Zephyr's going to be able to bounce back in the tiebreaker matchup?
I suppose it's possible, but I would still have to give it to Recon in the tiebreaker as well.
Gotcha. So you're thinking the double 2-0 for Recon 5 over Zephyr. Interesting. Okay. So when we were breaking down the divisions in terms of strength, we had Soul Division pegged as the hardest division by a small margin over Life. How do you guys feel about that as one of those middle of the pack teams? Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you guys actually think this is an easy division and you guys have just underperformed the whole time? And if that's the case, how would you rank the divisions in terms of strength?
Well, we haven't really scrimmed any teams from the Life division, so it's kind of hard to say how we would rank. I definitely think that Soul and Life are the hardest two divisions, but personally, I think judging off of Zephyr, because they were the undefeated team, I think that they're not, even though they 2-0'd us during the split and they went undefeated, I feel like they're definitely weaker than some of the first seeds in the other divisions. And so even though our division is probably one of the most competitive in terms of middle of the pack teams and even towards the top half of the division, I think some of the first seeds in the other divisions will probably be able to take down Zephyr.
Gotcha.
Or Recon. Or actually, I don't know. Recon could possibly be a contender for winning the whole thing. We'll see.
Gotcha.
So we've kind of talked to all the teams about how preseason is going to affect them. How do you feel like a preseason will affect you if you do make it into playoffs?
As far as I can tell, looks like it's gonna be jungle difference every game, and whichever team can secure more dragons will pretty much win the game. And so, yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how teams adapt. I think probably the teams with the stronger junglers might come out ahead. I think they're also buffing EXP gained in solo lanes and decreasing the bot lane's EXP, so maybe strong solo laners will have bigger impact on games. So I guess we'll just have to see. Not too sure.
And now coming into playoffs, you're going to be doing best of fives. How do you guys feel about best of fives? Are you guys confident, or do you think that actually hurts your team?
I'm fairly confident to best of fives. I think our team can adapt pretty well. We don't really, as far as mental strength goes, I think we're pretty good on that end. We don't get super tilted off of just one loss. We can look at the next game, with fresh set of eyes. And so I think a best of five would actually probably benefit us.
Gotcha. So, with the changes that are coming in preseason, especially, you touched on it. You think it's going to be very much all about the difference in junglers. What are your thoughts on the changes to the draft aspect, where they're going to be showing the third dragon every game? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh,
Do you
I
think
actually wasn't aware that that was
yeah,
a
so
change.
the third dragon is going to be the one that affects the overall landscape of the map.
Uh-huh.
So they're going to be showing in draft what the third dragon will be. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that with that aspect, I think a lot of teams are going to be focused around the same kind of compositions, depending on what the map
Right.
state's going to be. Like for
Right.
example, Rengar is going to be a top tier pick on like the ocean map, for an example. Kiana on mountain, so on and so forth. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's exactly like what you said, probably. Definitely drafts will be impacted by which dragon that affects the map. So, you know, I mean, we do have a Rengar player, so hopefully we'll get a lot of ocean maps. But yeah, it'll be really interesting because, you know, I don't think many people have played on the preseason patch on PBE, so I'm not too sure as to like what the specific types of comps you should be running on the certain maps. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to test it out when it gets here, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it, but like custom games, if you guys like mess up or anything and have to reset, don't you have to keep going until you get the same dragon again?
Oh yeah, like
You're like, oh man, we screwed
Yeah,
up. Oh, we
I don't
gotta
think
get an ocean. We gotta
there-
get an ocean.
On the PBE, there might actually be a way where you can set it to a specific dragon, like in custom games and stuff like that. I would
Well-
assume, but I don't know. This
I'm
is Riot we're talking about.
yeah.
So, what's I mean, obviously we touched on it. You guys are super confident going into this week. Is there any, in terms of like your drafts and stuff like that, is there anything you guys have planned that you guys are like, we think that this is going to be the superior way to draft coming out? For playoffs,
Well,
I mean, obviously.
Well,
Like,
all I wanna
basically, do you
say-
guys have any spicy picks is more what I'm asking more than
Right.
anything.
all I
Where's
want to
the
say
spice, man?
is that if unless you're a pussy, you will leave open the Rengar. So
Oh my god.
yeah,
You
I
heard it
mean-
here first.
All right.
yeah, I feel like Rengar is free win for our team. So
Not on the Infernal map, I will say that. Every other
true.
map, maybe.
hey, I'm sure our jungler will be able to work around it.
Gotcha. I mean, there's
yeah.
no bushes, so if he's able to work around zero bush control, I would be
True.
impressed.
That's not.
I mean, I
zero
guess I'll have
bushes.
to go Ivern support for him then.
Oh, that's spicy.
And also, probably leaving up Klexosakali is a mistake as well. I don't know if you saw that game versus...
Disgusting.
That was a
Yeah.
good game.
Literally
UTV?
follows the flash with a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, that was nutty. I didn't even realize because I was just focused on bot lane, but after watching back, I was pretty impressed
Oh
with
man.
my own teammate.
I mean,
Yeah.
we were impressed watching too. So I mean, that says all we need to say right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so Alex touched on it. Is there any teams that you guys were excited to play? I'm gonna take the back end of that question. Are there any teams that you guys are just like, please, we don't want to play you, stay away? Like, are there any teams like that for you guys, or are you guys much more the mentality of we have to go through them eventually?
Yeah, I don't think we're looking at particular teams and saying, I hope we don't get them. I think in the end, we just go into every match preparing, and, eventually if you do want to win, you probably have to end up being better than most of these teams. So it probably doesn't matter which teams we go against. But
Gotcha.
I think a fun matchup would be versus TFT because a Furious Doctor is an insane player, and I feel like it would be just fun to support against him.
Gotcha. Support
Yeah.
battle. I like it.
In the alcove.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the alcoves. I'll be honest. The alcoves actually bother me quite a bit. I think it adds a new level of intricacy to the bot lane that I'm not a huge fan of. I like the current state of bot lane.
Yeah.
I may actually be role swapping back to mid with that alcove being introduced.
Oh, dang.
No, please.
But that's just my take on it. But yeah, no, I mean that covers it for me in terms of questions. Alex, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just had one final question for you. Now, we've talked about some other strong teams. Finals. There could be 2 teams. What are the 2 teams, and who wins?
Is it bad if I don't put my own team in the finals?
You can put whatever you like, man.
Actually, if I'm being realistic, I'm gonna say Recon 5 versus Akuma Blades.
Okay, that's a good.
I think we've gotten that and Recon 5 versus Zephyr a lot, and Zephyr
versus Akuma Blades.
We're seeing that 3-way.
Yeah, a lot of people have those deemed as the top 3.
But I appreciate the opinion on it, and
who do you think wins that, by the way?
Yeah, I didn't even ask who wins.
I think I'll give it to Akuma. I got some friends over at Akuma, so.
Gotcha.
Well, it's been a blast having this interview with you. I do wish you the best of luck in your games. You guys have to fight tooth and nail, but I'm sure you're gonna put the best foot forward and make it off the playoffs.
Well, before we let you go, do you have any shout outs you want to give?
Shout out to my teammates. Shout out to Thin Uncle Phil for the best drafts in the whole league. Shout out to Smax. He's my boy. Shout out to Nutty. Shout out to all the Zephyr guys. Yeah, I think that covers everyone.
Gotcha.
Shout out to the podcast. You guys are doing great.
We appreciate it. Well, thank you so much, man, for being on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. And, yeah, I mean, we wish you the best of luck this week. And hopefully you guys make it into playoffs. If not, then, you know, we hope to see you guys back next split regardless. And, yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure having you for back-to-back splits.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. All right, up next on the interview docket, we have UT Esports Blues team manager / team captain, Ramza. Ramza, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm pretty good. I'm cold, but otherwise I'm pretty good.
Heard. So you're one of those people being affected by that Arctic chill that's sending shockwaves, or cold waves rather, through the upper United States.
Yeah, my hands hurt to hold the steering wheel this morning when I drove to class, so
Oof.
It's one of those days.
Heard. Well, hopefully that temperature gets risen up back to normal temperatures again soon. Especially before your games this weekend, because you guys have the possibility of a 3 to 4 way tiebreaker.
We sure do.
How confident are you guys going into that match, to your matches this week, that you guys are going to be the one that comes out on top and heads on to playoffs?
So if we were playing virtually any other team other than Zephyr, other than Recon 5 this weekend, I would be 100% sure we were going to do it. But with Recon 5, drop it down to 90%. Give myself 10% leeway when we lose. Oh, yeah, it wasn't 100%, but I feel very confident going into this weekend. We definitely have been preparing, and we're ready for this whole. Everyone's excited. No one's giving up yet.
No, I mean, that's good to hear. You guys obviously play against Jet Black in your second game and Recon 5 in your first game. The game that everyone has kind of had circled, though, on their calendar for this weekend for Seoul Division is, of course, that Asian Invasion versus Jet Black game. You guys are obviously hoping Jet Black wins that game to make sure that Asian Invasion doesn't get the clean 2-0, because they are having that last game of the week against Team Solo Kill. And you know, we've all seen that Team Solo Kill has struggled this season, as they sit at 0-12. Is that a game that you guys are definitely watching, saying everything kind of rides on this, or are you guys just 100% laser focused on your guys' games?
Well, to give us the best shot and not have to deal with any foldy sheet shenanigans, we have to 2-0 this weekend either way, regardless of if Asian Invasion goes 1-1. Like, if they go 2-0, they just make it out, and whatever. But we're not hoping for too many miracles. We're just going to try and do the best we can going into this weekend, so that it's all whatever's in our hands is done.
Well, I mean, absolutely. I think that's very intelligent. Alex, I know you had some questions about last week's game, so I'll pass over the question mic to you.
Well, I know that you guys had an impressive showing this week, so I do give you guys the best of luck. I mean, obviously, you guys look really strong this week, and that's why I wanted to go over some drafts. And we'll first start talking about the Uni Panthers Gold game. Do you want to kind of go over what your thoughts for draft are, or what was it difficult getting these picks, or what was your thoughts going into like mid game? Just your overall general thoughts.
So, I guess with how we drafted this last weekend, the cat was kind of out of the bag. Our mid laner saw Doinby play Predator Rumble, and he was pretty obsessed with it all last week. We were practicing scrims, we were doing it, and he just like both times when we got to him, he was like, "Give me a Rumble, give me a Rumble, give me a Rumble." So we were just the first game. I feel like we executed pretty well. It was, I think, the first game against Uni Panthers was easier, not because Uni Panthers are a bad team or anything, but because they're our main scrim partners, so we kind of know how they play. And I'd say we're probably like 50-50 in scrims with how we play against them. But we just there were no surprises. I'm pretty sure both teams knew exactly what the other team was going to pick. The only thing that caught me off guard when we were doing draft was when I got to my support, he was like, "Give me Thresh," which is something that I didn't even know he was ready to play. We've been sticking him on like Leona, Nautilus, that sort of dude. He just, "Give me Thresh." And
So you guys
we gave
felt
him
comfortable
Thresh.
with the picks you got. You guys feel like you got the comp you wanted, and it
I
looked
feel
like
like we
you
won.
played it to success. So
Yes.
props to you on that. Let's go over your other game that you had.
Oof. Do we have
UT,
to?
you played against Asian Invasion.
That
Now, this draft was a little different. We saw the kind of same core at the top, but what made you change the bot lane?
So I'm pretty sure they sniffed out the Syndra early in the draft. Like I think they banned it early, and I know when we were going into it, we had planned to take Jarvan just based on their R5 series. That I think they first picked Jarvan as well, and Jarvan just kind of fit a lot of their comps. Even though maybe in hindsight, Rek'Sai would have been a better choice just to almost completely run the comp back. And Varus functions, kind of the same as Syndra the best he can, where he provides a lot of upfront damage, controls the start of fights. Unfortunately, that game, Seal decided he wanted to turbo win, so maybe it wasn't the best choice. I don't know.
Well, either way, you found yourself a strong showing. So
Yeah, that game was very stressful to watch. That was a very stressful game to watch, where it was down to the knife's edge until the very last fight. So
now I know you guys are worried about not getting the playoffs, or you kind of have some tough uphill battles. But if you do make it to playoffs, what are you looking to do to improve your performance and your drafts? Do you have plans for that, or is that something that you kind of feel comfortable with?
Well, I feel personally, maybe this is all just speculation. I feel as though we probably scrim more than the average playoff team. I would say, because we're a university team, so we are scrimming a lot. So I feel like our strength already going into postseason would be that we're more comfortable playing best of series, and I've been trying with our practices to make everything kind of feel as intense as a stage game, so people don't have like nerves to deal with when we start playing. But as far as like improving, I definitely think we have the tendency to just kind of fall apart if we fall behind early. Like, we don't ever really claw back in. So that's what I've been trying to work on. But that's kind of hard to practice.
And saying that you do make it to playoffs, is there a team that you're really looking to face that kind of interests you?
Ooh, so we participated a while ago in this. I want to say in the spring we participated in PRL, and the first game I think we played was against the team that had Tron on it, and we smashed them to the point where he went to Canadian Champ and said we had Smurfs on our team. So I would like to repeat that and smash Tron's team just as hard to where he goes crying to the admins and says we're smurfing again. So that's what I'm looking forward to. That's been my drive the entire season.
Jacob, what are we doing around here? What is the
Every
go-to
team hates
flavor?
going next. So everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid, man.
Yep.
What team were you guys in Spring Split? I cannot remember.
We were just UT Esports, I believe. We did not do well after that, but the first game we beat, I wanted to say, I can't even remember the name of the team, but we beat them. It was the season where, Price is Right. They just won like every game. That season was the one we were playing, where they were terrifying. They were the scariest team.
What division were you guys in? You guys were in Tron's division. You said I can't remember.
Yeah, the Saturday division. Maybe
that would have been live.
Man,
or no, that would have been Soul. Gotcha.
Sure.
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
Kinda
It's
gets
fun.
that information. Looking at playoffs again, I know it is an uphill battle. We talked about divisions and how strong each one is. We talked about this division being the strongest. Would you agree with the opponents that you faced, or would you say that you had a weaker division?
I would say I can't speak to like the strength of the other teams because the only team we've really played against other like that isn't in this division was Union Panthers Purple, which I think they're a very good team and it's a shame they didn't make it. But I would say just based off of how we have a 4-way tie, I mean we have to have, even if it's not the best division, we have to have the most competitive division, I think, because each team plays like 2 games and we still don't know which the top 3 teams are going to be really until the end of tomorrow or Saturday.
Now, I know it's not super important to your guys' standings, but Recon and Zephyr do play a game this week. And this could fight them for first in the division. Who do you think comes out on top? Now, you've played both teams and you've kind of felt the power of both teams. So who do you think is a better team right now, and who do you think comes out on top for that game?
I think the team that comes out on top would probably be Zephyr. A little bit column A because I think they're the best team in the division. I mean, they're poised to go, if I'm like lossless, right? They haven't lost a game yet, or am I crazy?
They have not.
So they're poised to do that. And I think if R5 loses to our team of the 6 caliber, they're going to be tilted pretty hard.
So you guys are the decision maker for next week.
Yeah, that's a great way to feed my ego. Yeah. And everything that happens this weekend is all in our hands, every game. So
yes, of course.
But I think Zephyr's the best.
Gotcha. So we've talked about kind of. I know you previously before you got on the podcast, you said that you haven't had the ability to watch all the games for all the teams across the entire league. But when we were discussing the divisions, we deemed Seoul Division to be the toughest division, just based on the fact that it seemed like every team could take a game off every team, and then you also had the 2 teams sitting at the top in a pretty dominant fashion. How do you feel about that? Do you guys agree that you guys have the hardest division, or do you guys feel like this division should have been much easier? What are your overall thoughts?
I agree that this is a hard division. Just based on playing it, it does feel like any team can beat any team, and it's like we have this weird like rock paper scissors where if we beat Jet Black, we've beaten Jet Black twice. Jet Black, if they beat Asian Invasion, they've beaten Asian Invasion twice. Asian Invasion's beaten us twice. Panthers are kind of in the middle with like 1-1s across the board. I think it's a pretty spicy division, definitely.
Awesome. I would agree. This has been the spiciest division yet. So now let's kind of deep dive into what your team's goals are going into playoffs. Are you guys really just going for number 1, or is there like a certain spot where you can say, hey, we did this good, we feel okay with what we've got?
I mean, my players may argue with this. I personally would be happy if we just made it into playoffs. I think that'd be a good for a team that we only put together in September or late September, early October. I think making playoffs would be that'd be good enough for me. Obviously, if we could win everything, that'd be great. If I could make Tron run to you guys and complain about us cheating or something, that would also make me feel really good. But just making playoffs would be I'd be happy. I'd be content if we just make playoffs.
So
we
as one of the only organizations, I think there's only like 2 other organizations that have a sister team in the league. Actually, I think it's only one, and that would be UNI Panthers. You guys have a sister team in Life Division.
well, OTA also has a sister team.
Yeah. OTA is the third of the 3 that I said had. They obviously your sister team hasn't been performing as well as your blue roster. Do you guys feel like that division? You said you agree that Soul Division was tougher. Why do you think that your sister team wasn't able to find the success that you guys were able to find, despite probably about the same amount of scrim time and even scrimming against you guys?
So, I think for them, it's just been like they've been just having trouble finding their style, and there've been some like coaching changes that have happened behind the scenes a little bit here and there. I was originally supposed to help them out, but it turns out with all their things that I have going on, I only had enough time to devote to one team, so they had to pull in another coach like halfway through the split. So he's been doing great, but he hasn't had a lot of time to like turn things around, so to speak. And I think it's mostly just like they just haven't found their groove, which is unfortunate. Because I know all those players are good. Like I've we've played with them. They all tried out. I know all of them personally. I know they're all good enough. It's just something just isn't clicking yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we kind of saw the Rumble utilized this week. Is there anything else you guys have planned that's real spicy that you're kind of holding back on right now?
Nautilus mid.
Let's say that at our watch party for World Finals this weekend, I heard something being talked about from my mid laner and like some other players that he wanted to try. And let's say if he gets his hands on some of these things, it's gonna be a game. Whether it's a good game for us or not, it'll definitely be a game. So may or may not have some.
So who does he look forward? Who does he look up to more? The Kled mid god that is Doinby. Which I have said all season long, I want to see people pick Kled mid. I think Kled mid is a completely viable strategy, and it goes well into a lot of the mages. Or do you think he looks more up to Caps, but he just finds Doinby's picks more interesting?
Well, this weekend, at the last second, he changed his vote from FunPlus to G2.
Oof.
But I think he,
man.
yeah, right.
Don't bet money on that.
I would say that based on the fact that it was just this weekend that he changed his vote, I have to say he's probably just a Doinby stan. So, I mean, how have you seen his moves? How could you not want to be like Doinby? The way he dances and smile, perfect.
So we talked about a little bit about what you were gonna play. We also want to go over the preseason because that's gonna be pretty important. How do you guys feel for the preseason? Are you feel prepared, or do you feel like that it's kind of hard trying to worry about getting into playoffs and then having preseason right around the corner?
I know the end of season push has kind of hard damaged some of the mentals of my players. So I'm personally looking forward to preseason so they can kind of relax and rebuild their mentals. We're right now just kind of focusing on getting to playoffs and then hoping that preseason doesn't change too much for us.
Gotcha. Well, I only have my last question, Jacob, so if you'd like any other questions, you can go ahead.
I mean, my only question is again, we discussed it, that we discussed the top 4 teams on the last episode of the podcast, but we also made it known that Team Fish Taco and SBK Embers were also in our top 6. But we had, I think aggregated, it was Zephyr Esports was 3rd, and then Recon 5 was 2nd in that top 4 list. What are your thoughts on that? You, as someone who's played against both these teams, do you think that those rankings are fair and indicative of where they actually will fall at the end of the split, or do you think that both of those teams are finals contenders, or do you think they're 2 teams that lucked out in a otherwise competitive division?
I wouldn't say either of those teams lucked out. I would say based on their styles, which I'm not 100% fully like familiar with because I haven't watched every single game they've played, but from at least my memory, I want to say that Recon 5 is a more aggressive team that is better at blowing open games. They're really good at playing aggressive and getting their leads, snowballing their leads. Whereas I feel like Zephyr is really good at capitalizing on mistakes. Like their games are always much closer, I feel, than Recon 5, but they still win. And they come back like from deficits. They're really good at just building small leads and just like exploiting mistakes. And I think in a playoff series, I think that's going to be better than Recon 5, whereas Recon 5 is just kind of like a bull in a china shop. They just ram it through. But I don't know if that'll work against the better teams that they're going to be playing against playoffs.
Gotcha.
And I think Zephyr will be better. Go Zephyr.
Is there any team that you guys just are 100% we don't want to play this team in playoffs?
No. I would say, like, based off stats, I wouldn't want to play against Zephyr, but I really want to show that we can beat them. I think the last game we played, obviously we lost, but it didn't feel as like, oh, they're like head and shoulders above us. It felt like we could definitely shore up. Same thing with Recon 5. I think if we don't beat them this weekend, I think it's going to be a close game. And I would be happy to play them. I already said I want to make Troners come crying to you guys. So, and I'm not too familiar with the other teams other than in Soul and Life, because those are the only 2 days I can really watch. I think, is Sicko Sands making it? Is that the team that got into the bet?
We're about to find out this week.
They were the team that got in the bet with early on in the season against Go Next Gaming before the pretty disappointing loss from them. Put it lightly.
That was pretty light.
But as of right now, they have definitely not locked in that third seed. But they're in the ball's in their court. It's up to them to make the shot right now.
As someone who really likes storylines, I think it'd be great if they came back through and they knocked out Go Next later after losing. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I think that'd be a great story just to comment on. So I hope we don't play them until after they knock out Go Next.
All right, man. Well, I mean, Alex, I'll pass it over to you for your final question of the evening.
Actually, I have two.
Okay.
I just really quickly wanted to ask, how do you guys feel in a best of 5 format versus doing these one game win all?
I think I feel I don't have any facts on it, but I think we are probably like top 3 as far as like series go, because we adapt really well over a course of series.
Wow.
Whereas like
Top 3 is pretty
turbo.
high.
Yeah, we kind of turbo sometimes in best of ones, but I think we can adapt pretty well in a best of series. So we're keeping that as the holy grail. We make
Fair
it
enough.
out. I feel confident.
I hope to get to see that. And for my final question for you, finals. 2 teams make it. What are the 2 teams and who wins?
So, man.
Yeah, I did it to you, man. I did it. And I'm not worried about where they are in grouping. Obviously,
okay.
Hard to tell right now, but
2
I just want to
teams?
hear your thoughts.
If not us, then if us, and I think us and either Zephyr or Go Next. If not us, then Zephyr and Go Next, and I think Zephyr wins. If that's the follow-up question, I think Zephyr goes 3-1. If that's the
fine. Either way worked. It could have been yourself. It could have been another team.
If we make it, clean 3-0, easy. But if we don't make it, I think Zephyr goes 3-1.
Look, you gotta have that confidence, man. You guys got this.
Gotta have my contingency plan.
And trust me, you're the only team I've told that to.
Oh yeah, Sure. Sure.
Obviously,
he says that's all the teams.
I wish the best to all teams,
Thank
and
you.
especially to you guys. Really do hope you guys have a fantastic showing this week, and I am going to be watching your games intensely. And do you
Me too.
have any shout-outs that you want to give out?
Yes. Thank you for asking. I would like to shout out all my players, even though they've never shouted me out in the post game. I'd like to shout out all my players except for the ones that have done interviews and have left me out, which I think that only really leaves like Seal, who's the only one who still hasn't gotten an interview. And I'd also like to shout out Evan and Joster from the UNI Panthers. Thank you guys for being the best scrimmage partners.
Man, everyone else calls them that too, Jacob. Feel bad now.
Dude,
I
everyone
don't know,
was telling
I've
me.
called them uni, and then switch back and forth. I'm thankful for them.
Everyone was telling me when we were going into it, like in the management team, it was like it's uni, and then we just and then I found out like earlier today that it's UNI, so it's just funny to me.
Oh, it is UNI.
Yeah,
that's
UNI.
what they. All right, cool. So I'll stop calling them the Uni Panthers.
But yeah, no, we appreciate you getting on the show, and we appreciate you being a supporter of the show. It means a lot to us, and we were glad to have you on.
Subscribe.
I appreciate you guys having me, and I look forward to the next time I'm on when we're in playoffs and I get to.
Yes, when we have a follow-up interview.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Well, good luck this weekend. We wish you the best moving forward. And if you guys, for some reason, do not make it into playoffs, we, of course, hope to see you guys back next split and throw down another run back and make it that time around.
I feel confident.
Maybe someone won't shout you out again.
No, it won't. No one's going to shout me out. I yell at them every time. They all get all anxious and they don't say hi. They don't shout me out.
Shame. All right, well, thank you so much, man, for being on. We really do appreciate it.
Of course, thank you for having me.
And finally, to wrap things up for the Soul Division, we, of course, have Evan IRL for Uni Panthers Gold. Evan, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. A little tired, but I'm ready to talk with you guys over on the podcast.
Heard. I'm going to turn you up just a tiny smidgen. Pretty low. While I do that, Alex, you said you had some questions regarding last week's games. I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I just want to go over kind of your thoughts in your draft and what your team comp was really going for against UT Esports Blue.
All right. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So, typically when we are picking champions, we've only ever had top lane success. Because we have some off rolls in the bot lane, which is totally fine, and we just don't expect to be carrying through our bot side ever. So typically we're trying to draft strong top and jungle synergies so that the jungle and I can basically kind of hard carry and get our bot lane through the mid game.
Okay.
And so that's what we were trying to do with the Garen and the what's it called, Jarvan.
Oh.
Because the Demacia Bros, we had a lot of success on that early on.
Demacia Bros.
Yeah, we figured that would be a lot of pressure, but we ended up getting jebaited when they picked their Rumble here, and we thought that Rumble was going to be topside. So we're like, oh yeah, that's an easy smash for me. They actually ended up taking that mid and then swapping us into a really bad matchup with Gnar. And also, Rumble hard carries or hard counters our mid lane pick as well. And we had picked both of those champions beforehand. So, honest to God, we were just terrible at draft, and that's just always been something that plagued us. We don't have a coach. We don't have, we're just going through pick by pick. We're like, oh yeah, this looks like this might be good. This could be good.
Okay.
It's something that we need to work on for sure.
Understandable. What about versus Jet Black? Because it seemed like, again, you guys kind of had a disadvantage in the drafting. What were your thoughts going into this draft?
Oh, well, I'll be honest. I thought that we were going to be fine here. Like our draft, other than mid lane, because our mid is has a very small champ pool that they're comfortable on. I thought that we had a pretty strong bot lane matchup. Don't get me wrong, Xayah is strong, and a Karma with the the shielding can really help peel. And
of course, Caitlyn Morgana's very strong lane.
Right. And we picked a very strong laning phase duo, and it just didn't work out. I think I saw on the VOD they got ganks early and lost both their summoners, something like that. And I think that basically it's just misplaying. I don't think we necessarily got outdrafted. I think that we just had a pretty bad mid game or early in mid game. People don't know how to properly bounce waves and wave management, stuff like that. So they're getting set up for easy ganks from JB Cam. He's just oh, this is a free bot lane here.
Now, I understand your team didn't find the most success this week, even though you jebaited everyone with the Singe and they broke the rule of League of Legends. Do not chase Singed ever. What do you kind of feel like you guys are going to do to improve for next week. It's important that you guys get your 2-0 next week to keep you in contention for playoffs. How do you feel like you're going to do this?
I think it's going to be a lot of bot lane changes, like not personnel wise, but we've talked a lot about how we want to play our early games and what kind of champion pool we want to have on our support, especially. It seems
Okay.
like we get shoved in a lot and we don't have priority in bot lane almost ever. And we're playing against pretty aggressive and strong bot lane carry teams. And we just don't seem to have that, so we're going to start picking more aggressive supports, I think, to kind of set up Laser Chicken to be able to actually be able to carry on his own rather than, suck it up through the first 20 minutes and then we'll see what happens, kind of a thing.
So what are your thoughts on the 3-way tie we currently have, and the thoughts that there could be a 4-way tie coming?
Depending on if you guys can pull it out, the 2-0.
And what are your thoughts on the other team? Do you feel like some are, really strong, or do you feel like some are weaker than the others? What are your thoughts in general?
I think, well, okay, I'll be honest. If we don't pull out the 2-0, that'll be disgustingly sad.
Yeah.
We should certainly beat SK, and I believe we play R rated.
Rated R, yep.
Yeah, or rated R. Sorry, I think rated R. Actually, I mean, potentially could take a game. I think they could beat us if they really wanted to, but I don't see SK winning, as they haven't beat any team so far. And that's just shows that they have a lot of room for improvement. So that's its own thing. That's okay. But Asian Invasion, I think, and UTB have seriously changed how their game plans, and they've gotten a lot better. And regardless of how if we make it or not, I would not be sad about Asian Invasion or UTB going on. However, I don't think that Jet Black would be the best matchup against other teams. I just think they have a lot more. I mean, obviously they beat us, right? They beat us head to head right there, pretty convincingly. But I just don't think that they're going to match up well against other teams. I think it's just that we have a terrible early game, and you can exploit that. But as you saw, I think we kind of bridged that gap against JB, and kind of came back, whereas a lot of teams have a lot stronger early game even than JB, and they also have a lot stronger late games than we do.
So if this does come down to some tiebreakers, how confident do you feel about versing these other teams and getting the playoffs?
I'd probably give us a 50-50 shot, honestly. We're playing pretty coin flip right now. I mean, I think that we can beat Asian Invasion and we can beat UTB if we show up and we want to play. However, I think that they're really solid teams, and we would have to get some serious prep in if we wanted to be able to.
Now, if you did make it to playoffs and making it through all of this, do you have plans on maybe getting a coach and getting,
Oh yeah, we've already got a coach. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, I think that's awesome.
And I want to touch on
what teams are you kind of looking to play if you do make it to playoffs?
What teams do we want to play?
Yeah, what are you excited to play against if you do make it to playoffs?
I would really like to play against Akuma Blades, Akuma Blade. What is that? It?
Yeah, Akuma Blades is usually what we call them.
Yeah, they look super good, super solid. I think that'd just be a great experience to play against them. Obviously, Go Next Gaming would be nice to play against. I'm sure everybody's got, beef or something with them, but I just like to play them. And then I think there's a lot of teams in the Sunday division and the Mine division as well, or is that Body?
Life division.
Life division
for Sunday.
Life is Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That I'd like to play original as well as Sicko Saiyans. I don't know if they're gonna make it out, but there's a lot of teams in there that I would really like to play. I think.
Awesome.
So I want to touch a little bit more on the prospect of this multi-way tiebreaker. We touched on it. You play Team Solo Kill and Team Solo Kill and Rated R. Meanwhile, Asian Invasion plays against Jet Black and Team Solo Kill, and then you have Jet Black playing against Asian Invasion and UT Esports Blue, and UT Esports Blue playing against Recon 5 and Jet Black. How confident are you that all those teams are going to end up going 1-1, which will give you that potential for that tiebreaker? Or do you think that, are you expecting a certain team to go 2-0? What are all your thoughts in regards to that?
Okay. Well, I think no flame to any of the teams in there. I think the best shot or the best that I would guess would be UTB would probably go 1-1, and JB at best would go 1-1 as well, since they're also playing Asian Invasion, right? And they're playing SK, did you say, or Rated R?
Asian Invasion's playing SK and Jet Black.
Yeah.
UT Esports plays Recon 5 and Jet Black, and Jet Black plays UT and Asian Invasion.
Yeah, so UT's I think is gonna split, or they drop. They potentially could drop both because they're playing Asian Invasion and R5, right? You said. Yeah. So I think our fate, our team's fate, is in the hands of Asian Invasion, and if they drop that game to JB, I think otherwise.
Definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think everybody else at best goes 1-1. Or just from what I've seen them play. I mean, they're good teams, don't get me wrong, but I think that they'll probably go 1-1. I don't know if Jet Black can beat Asian Invasion if they come and play like they did against us early game, and they play like that against Asian Invasion. I think they have a shot for sure, and I hope they win. I do. I hope they win.
Yeah, I mean, Asian Invasion definitely looking like they have the easiest strength of schedule next to you guys. Of course, with their last game of the season being against Team Solo Kill. So I think that game of Asian Invasion versus Jet Black, I definitely agree. I think is going to be pivotal to what ends up happening for the rest of everyone. Okay. You guys, I mean, you guys had a very easy shot to make clinch playoffs, and again, this isn't me flaming you, please don't take it like that, but you guys definitely dropped the ball last week with that 0-2. I had been pinning you guys as like, this is the team I think is going to get out of this group. I think their last 2 weeks are extremely easy. I'm expecting them to go 3-1, and now I'm expecting you guys to hopefully 2-0 this week, just to kind of have that shot at making it out into playoffs. How disappointed were you guys with your guys' overall performance last week?
Very, very disappointed. Ever since I think we were 4-2 in the standings, all right, and then I think I was out, and so was our jungler or something. The next week we lost a few games after that. We just kind of had scheduling conflicts with everybody where we couldn't get everybody to start practicing. So basically from then on, we never even had a practice. We just played. Mm-hmm. So I mean, yeah, like that's disgusting. You don't want to hear a team saying that. That's like could potentially be in playoffs, right? So it's just like it's bad. Like logistics, it just didn't work out for us, unfortunately, on Saturdays. Because that's the day that we were hoping we wouldn't have to play. I'm not blaming that on why we're losing. It's just saying, we didn't get a whole lot of practice that we should have been getting, and then obviously not having some of our starters there really hurt us. And going 0-2, no flame to Asian Invasion or any other teams, but I mean, we hard smashed them the first game we played against them. We scrimmed against them. We've hard smashed them, and then to get just blown out in like 19 minutes or something like that by them is unacceptable. Not to say that we can't lose to them, but just the way that we played was gross. like you don't see a third place team who's like smashing all the other mid-tier teams. Just go out there and play another mid-tier team and then just get beat or rolled in like 19 minutes. Like,
yeah.
So,
we don't expect to see the dancing Rift Herald. I agree.
Yeah, no.
So now that we have the three-way, we have this tie going in. What are your thoughts on your division strength-wise? Because we talked about this division being a lot stronger than the other divisions. Would you agree with that, or do you think the other divisions are stronger than yours and we got it wrong?
I see a lot in the banter chat, people talking about how crappy Soul Division is, and I disagree. I think that we have two teams that are like top of the pack, and I think that they could take games off of anybody else in any other division. But I do think that our middle of the pack, like every division has two really good teams. I think Sunday has like
usually about 1 or 2 teams, and then middle of the pack.
Right, middle of the pack, right. And I think that our middle of the pack is significantly stronger than other teams in other divisions, or at least they are now. I think our 4 teams that have been sitting in the middle have improved.
They've usually been sitting around the same. We've had like a tie in the middle like the whole time for Soul Division.
Yeah.
Right.
It started a 3-way, it ended in a 4-way, and then now we're here.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty tough division. I don't know if it's the toughest because again, like I am not playing in these other divisions, but I think that you certainly can give us some credit where credit's due. I think it is a competitive division.
Now, you guys know that Zephyr and Recon play one last time before playoffs.
They also
went
have the potential for a tiebreaker for
before.
first seed.
So, what are your thoughts? I know you've played both teams. We personally have not played them. How do you feel that the teams will go? How will the games go? Would you think that Recon's going to win, or do you feel like Zephyr's going to win?
I actually didn't get to play against Recon 5 either game, unfortunately, but I got to watch. From what I understood is Recon 5 is, they're very strong early game, but against a controlled team, a very smart team like Zephyr, they can turn that aggression around and use it against them, which is something that I think that they will do. I have a lot of faith in Zephyr and like Doopster. I played a lot with my boy Doopy back in the day. And I think that they're just a really good team. Of course, I don't know if you guys know that, but they have now a new bot lane, so that could be
we're slightly informed.
Yeah, an area of contention. So I still have faith in Zephyr, and I think Zephyr has the coach behind them and the willpower, I guess, and the know-how to pull out a win against R5.
So, assuming you make it to playoffs, are you guys worried about preseason at all, not having the best preparation, having to focus so much on getting to playoffs? Do you feel like you're unprepared coming into preseason?
No, I don't think so. I think, a lot of us have started, individual skill-wise, we've all been improving on our own. We've all been playing a lot of ranked solo duo. Like, I just gained 200 LP over 2 days because I've been, like, elo... Not like... Okay, I haven't been, like, elo sitting or anything like that. I've been D4, but I started, like, figuring my shit out, and now, now I'm a lot better now. And so have, like, a lot of our other players. I think, like, individually, I think we've gotten a lot better, and we can hold our own in playoffs if we make it there. But I do think...
So do you have anything spicy that you guys have been planning for draft? I know you guys don't really have a draft coach, or you now have one. Is there anything you've been planning? You don't have to really say in specifics, but is there something spicy you're going to be bringing to the table?
Yeah, a lot of terrain changes and kind of things like that. I'll say, other teams have been using it, but like we've been using a lot of the Rumble J4. We've been bringing out Talia's as well in certain roles.
Okay.
And I think Swain is an undervalued champion right now in some roles.
I agree. I agree. And there it is. Uni Panthers Gold, not afraid to share what they have to offer. They're saying, bring it, other teams.
So
we can make it there.
My question is this: you guys again you guys are fighting to get that third seed. In the event you guys do manage to get that third seed, are there any second seed teams that you really want to pick you? That you're just like, you know what, bring it! I want to face you now. Let's get this shit over with.
Who do we have in second seed sitting right now?
Most likely from Life Division, it's going to be Go Next Gaming. For Mind Division, it's either going to be Famous or it's on the tip of my tongue. Famous or Dawn, and then for Body Division, it is Alarion Gaming Black.
Oh, okay. I kind of want to play against Famous Gaming because they smacked our other team a few times, and I want to see how we stack up.
Team.
Our sister team.
How dare you?
No, no flame to that. They know I'm not flaming them.
Oh,
so,
of course. It's
but
all
like,
fun.
yeah,
All fun here on Play's podcast, we swear.
Yeah. I think they look like a decent team, so I want to give them a shot. I'd like to play them.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Well,
I'm ready for my final question. Whenever you're good, Jacob, you just let me know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I really want to discuss. So when we talked about top 4 teams or top 6 teams, 2 of the teams we had were from Seoul Division. What's your thoughts on that? Do you agree that Zephyr Esports and Recon 5 are top 4 teams in the league?
Yes. Yes, I do. I don't
help.
Well, I do. I think because well, first of all, let's go with Zephyr first. I guess Zephyr has the most controlled way of playing League of Legends in I think in any of the leagues or any of the divisions. That is, I think even when we bring out some troll crap like Singe Top, right? They were never necessarily. I guess they said that they were caught off guard by it, but they were never out of control of the game. They were always in the driver's seat. It just took them a little time to find the right engage,
yeah.
and adjustments that they wanted. And that's something that a lot of teams have trouble doing. They'll just force shit. They'll just force something down your throat. Like they'll force on these engages and stuff like that. Whereas Zephyr is a very controlled and what do you call it? They're very controlled and they don't act on like impulse. I guess like a lot of teams do. Like I think R5 can do. Not that they're not controlled, but that's something that I would see other teams do, where they just kind of, oh, okay, this looks like it might work. Let's give it a shot, and they're not necessarily doing the cost-benefit analysis that they should do.
Gotcha.
So that's why I think Zephyr's definitely in the top 2, and I think R5 is also in the top 2 because they're just very quick. They know when they can get those advantages, and they're not afraid to flip that coin. Where a lot of teams are very timid. Like you can even look at UNI Panthers Gold. Like we have a very terrible early game, and that shows when we play against teams who are willing to play aggressively and take those risks. And when they work out, man, it's huge.
So wait, it's UNI, it's not Uni. Everyone's been calling it Uni.
Yeah, I know. We tried to get it. It's UNI. Yeah, we're University of Northern Iowa. But
my fault.
Well,
everyone's literally told me it was Uni, so I was just like Uni, and I'm finding out it's UNI.
I'll have to bring it to the final question, and it's a spicy one, so just be prepared. 2 teams are gonna make it to finals. What are the teams? Who wins?
Oh boy. Okay. I would be surprised if Zephyr or Akuma Blades didn't make it to finals. But I don't know how the bracket actually shapes up. Like who's
well,
gonna
just knowing based on the teams, anything can go in this scenario.
I think. Okay, can I give you 2 that I think would be most likely to win?
Go for it.
I think Zephyr and Akuma Blades. If I'm being honest with you.
Okay, cool. And who wins?
If it's against those 2, just because I have ties to Doopy, I'm gonna go with Zephyr again.
Awesome.
Heard.
Any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, just to my team, and then also to Soul Division and all the scrim partners that we got to help us improve and point out our weaknesses over the season. We really appreciate your guys' help, and whoever moves on, good luck. Represent Soul Division, guys.
Gotcha.
I wish you the best of luck. I hope your new coach is going to help you guys figure out what you need to do to make the playoffs, and I hope the best of luck if you do make it to playoffs.
Thanks, man.
No, it was a pleasure having you, and thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you being a supporter of the show, and we appreciate you finally being able to join us on the show. And if you guys make playoffs, we hope to see you guys go far. And if you guys miss out, then we hope to see you guys back next season and give it another run back and hopefully make playoffs that time around.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. Well, that about does it for the Soul Division. We got a boatload of information there from all 6 teams. Alex, I mean, we've been recording this now for about 6 hours across all our interviews. What were your thoughts on everything?
I just think it's crazy, especially the information we got from the top teams about kind of how they feel about other teams in the division. It's very nice to see that these 2 strong teams even fear some teams across the board, and how these other teams felt about their tiebreakers and how they think they're going to go down. We have a lot of confidence across the board, and I think it's going to be an amazing week of games once again.
Absolutely. I mean, the Soul Division, we've touched on it before, is stacked like no other. But it's been an absolute blast speaking with all of these individuals, and I can't wait to see how things shake up in this final week for playoffs. As I said in the intro, though, if it does come down to tiebreakers, which is, let's face it, extremely likely, outside of maybe one team going 2-0, you guys will need to refer to Alex Sloth King for any questions or concerns regarding that. He will have all the details already set and laid out in front of him, so if you have any questions, make sure you guys are headed his way. Remember, if there are tiebreakers, you need to play them out by Monday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. With that being said, though, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Soul Division for PRL Plays Podcast.
Do not forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the comment. Please, it will really help us all in the PRL.
Absolutely. Yes, please do like and subscribe. And if you guys want to talk about the podcast, make sure you guys head over to the discussion channel. And if you guys want to comment your guys' thoughts on everything you guys heard here today, make sure you do it in the YouTube comment section. That way we can make sure that we are getting the feedback that we need to make sure that we can grow this as much as humanly possible. With that being said, though, this is going to be it for us. We will see you guys on the Rift, and good luck.